Pirates. The Reebok Norman Challenge. From the Champions Golf Club, Greg Norman takes on superstars Larry Bird, Ivan Lendl, and Wayne Gretzky.
Next from CBS Sports, Major League Baseball.
Greg Riddick took the helm this week as struggling San Diego strives to build upon the hustle of Roberto Alomar and the hitting of Tony Gwynn. Led by swashbuckling all-stars such as Bobby Bonilla and Barry Bonds, the Pirates continue to treasure their perch atop the NL East. From its manager on down, Kansas City is experiencing a screaming, bat-breaking exercise in frustration as it languishes in the royal dungeon of the AL West. Meantime, up in Beantown, Ellis Burks and Dwight Evans have blasted the resurgent Red Sox into first place. We'll harken back to those golden days of yesteryear when baseball ruled radio's airwaves. And we'll relive a memorable week for a most unlikely all-star, Atlanta rookie Greg Olson. Major League Baseball is next on CBS Sports. Hello, everyone. I'm Andrea Joyce. Welcome to CBS Sports coverage of Major League Baseball. In case you may be wondering where Greg Gumbel is, well, he's alive and well and enjoying himself up at Fenway Park, where he'll team with Jim Cott to bring some of you the Royals and the Red Sox. Meantime, in Pittsburgh, Jack Buck and Tim McCarver are standing by, hoping that the weather is going to cooperate so they can bring the rest of you the Padres and the Pirates. And here in New York, George Steinbrenner continues to do what he does best, create headlines. According to a front-page report in today's New York Times, Steinbrenner, worried that he may be facing a lengthy suspension, the second of his career, is preparing to launch a legal attack on the commissioner's office. The court challenge would be mounted in the event the commissioner rules against the Yankee owner. It would center around allegations that baseball's investigation conducted for the commissioner by Washington attorney John Dowd was biased. Commissioner Fay Vincent yesterday defended Mr. Dowd and the investigation. George Steinbrenner has been unavailable for comment. Right now, let's quickly run down last night's West Coast scores, starting in Oakland, where the Milwaukee Brewers tagged Dave Stewart with his 8th loss of the year. Up at the Kingdome, Cleveland made it 2 in a row over Seattle, scoring 13 runs on Friday the 13th. And in Anaheim, Jim Abbott recorded his first shutout of the season. And we will be back with a nostalgic glimpse of the golden age of radio as we continue here on CBS.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's pregame is brought to you by MCI, Let Us Show You. And by AFTA, sensible care for sensitive skin. AFTA by Menon.
Today, minus Bo Jackson, the Royals know that veteran George Brett must lead the way against Boston's Roger Clemens, who has helped rocket the Red Sox to the top of the American League East. Today, it's the Royals and Red Sox as CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Well, proof positive right there. We'll spend the afternoon in one of the great ballparks in the country. The Kansas City Royals, the only franchise in baseball which has never finished last, but there they sit at the bottom of the American League West, while things are just the reverse for the Boston Red Sox. They sit atop the American League East by percentage points over the Toronto Blue Jays. And good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fenway Park in Boston. Along with Jim Cott, I'm Greg Gumbel. Interesting matchup today. We'll start with the Kansas City Royals first, who will be without Bo Jackson. He had a death in the family. He is not here today. He plans to rejoin the team tomorrow. And yesterday, last night's game, the Royals lost the services of Danny Tartabull. In the 4th inning, Tartabull hit this shot off the left field wall, but halfway up the first base line, pulled up lame. He suffered a torn groin muscle, has been placed on the disabled list, and he will be lost at least twice that long, I would think, Jim. But injury has been a big problem for the Royals.
Yeah, Greg, and not only just the everyday players. Here's a team that has pretty good pitching. They went out during the winter and added to that staff, Storm Davis and Mark Davis, but now with Storm on the injured list and Mark Gubicza, they've had injuries up and down the roster.
It has been change, and more change changed for the Boston Red Sox over the last couple of years. They've always had plenty of talent, but this year and a little bit of last year, it seems to be a change in attitude.
Well, I think Tony Pena, the Pena personality, has really helped the Red Sox on the field and in the clubhouse. And then it was 2 years ago, this weekend, that Morgan Magic was born. Joe Morgan took over, rather, and the Kansas City Royals were here. They started on that winning streak, won the American League East. They've got that same enthusiasm back.
Well, Joe Morgan has a good, very good formula for success today, and a little bit of magic, too, in Roger Clemens on the hill.
Well, Roger Clemens is more than just a fastball pitcher. You think of him and you think of a hard thrower. He's got a great forkball and a good breaking ball. Excellent command of that fastball, both sides of the plate. That's what makes him tough.
Well, it'll be Roger Clemens and the Boston Red Sox against Luis Aquino and the Kansas City Royals. We'll be back for the start in just a moment.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game is brought to you by Toyota's quality line of cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me. HBO, simply the best. And by New Bud Dry, cold filtered for smooth draft taste and dry brewed for no aftertaste.
Back at Fenway Park as the Boston Red Sox have taken the field now to take on the Kansas City Royals. What do they look like defensively, Jim?
Well, behind Roger Clemens, they'll have Mike Greenwell in left field, wearing that air cast on his injured left ankle, but playing. In center field with Ellis Burke still on the bench, Kevin Romine will get the start. And over in right field, boy, good addition to this ball club back in early May, Tom Brunansky. And on the infield, steady every day, Wade Boggs will play third. Luis Rivera, who played the best shortstop they've seen here in Boston many a year, he's at short. Jody Reed moved over from shortstop this year to take over second base. And at first base, Carlos Quintana. Here's a team that lost Nick Asaski by way of free agency. What a job he's done. Behind the plate, the happiest player in the ballpark today, Tony Pena. Always a smile on his face, loves to play. And the mound is empty, but Roger Clemens is probably getting a fresh t-shirt on, and dry t-shirt, trots out 12-4. And his record in Fenway Park, Greg, against Kansas City, phenomenal. He's never been beaten by the Royals here.
That's right, and 6-0 in 7 starts. And of course, Clemens is always tough in this ballpark anyway. Here's how the Royals will face Roger Clemens. It'll be Kevin Seitzer leading off and playing third base. Kurt Stillwell hits in the number 2 slot at shortstop. George Brett playing first. The right fielder is Jim Eisenreich. Gerald Perry is the designated hitter today. The center fielder is Willie Wilson, with Bo Jackson gone due to the death in the family. Pat Tabler is in left field. The second baseman is Bill Pecota, and catching the first game of this day-night doubleheader is Ray Palacios.
Now, we mentioned what makes Roger Clemens so tough, and anytime you get a combination of a 95-mile-an-hour fastball and yet can pinpoint it on the inside part of the plate and outside, that really gives you 2 pitches. And he's added the forkball and, of course, the good breaking ball to go with it.
7 strikeouts today, and Roger Clemens will overtake Cy Young, who is the all-time Boston Red Sox strikeout leader.
Well, you were looking at that Kansas City lineup. Talk about some strange names, and that's really one of the reasons Kansas City's down in last place. They're not really a bad ball club. They've been playing poorly, and they've had a lot of injuries.
The umpires for this afternoon's game, Jim Evans will be behind the plate, Drew Coble at first, Tim Welke at second, and Dale Ford at third. I mentioned the first of 2. The Friday night or the Thursday night game was rained out here in Boston, and they will play a day-night doubleheader today and tonight. As you look at the dimensions of a very interesting ballpark. How many different angles did you say in this ballpark?
There's got to be over 20 to 25 different little nooks and crannies, and I think that's what makes it so much fun to come here as a player, a fan, a broadcaster, just to see the unique Fenway Park. And,
did you enjoy pitching here?
Oh, you know what I love doing here? Shagging fly balls during batting practice and learning how to play the wall like Yastrzemski and now Mike Greenwell. But I loved every part of coming to Fenway Park except maybe facing that lineup.
Did you think it would come in handy for you one day to know how to play that left field wall?
Yeah. There's a look at that monster right there. You know, and it's everybody, when you think of Fenway Park, you think home runs. You don't get beat by the home run here. You see all the dents in that wall? It's those medium deep fly balls that eventually become doubles off that monster with a couple of men on. That's what kills you.
Well, Kevin Seitzer will be the first up to take a shot at it. Seitzer hitting .301 with 4 home runs, 24 runs batted in. and needs one hit to reach the 100 mark. And Roger Clemens, who has complained a little bit of a tired arm and did not see action in the All-Star game at Wrigley Field on Tuesday night. Misses with the first one, ball 1.
Now he's getting an extra day because of that. He worked last Sunday, so he's getting a full extra day's rest.
That's not a bad strikeout to walk ratio, is it? Count is even now to Kevin Seitzer at a ball and a strike. And that went a little bit high.
Unusual numbers. If Kevin Seitzer played in Fenway Park as his home park, those would be different, but he plays in Kansas City. See how many more of his balls are hit to right field than center and left.
In the air, right side. Going out is Jody Reed. Coming on is Tom Brunanski, and Bruno makes the catch for out number 1. And Roger Clemens still has his no-hitter intact. With all the no-hitters being thrown, I'm surprised you don't put on the jersey and the Sandies and go out there again.
Unusual. I mean, there's no way you can put a finger on it. Everybody asks why all the no-hitters. It's coincidence, but it's just amazing we've had so many of them this year.
Here's Kurt Stillwell, the Royal shortstop, hitting .275. So you're watching batting coach John Mayberry, who was watching Kurt Stillwell in the batting cage. He treats Stillwell like a prize pupil who likes the way he swings the bat.
Walt Horeniak, of course, the hitting coach here in Boston for many years, and then Charlie Lau with the Royals before Horeniak became popular. Have had an influence on a lot of players. Stillwell swing like that.
And Clemens quickly ahead in the count, 0-2.
You know, both Horeniak and Lau and most of the hitting coaches today, it's a steady head, weight back, and a high finish with that hand.
Breaking ball misses at 1-2. Well, you talk about Roger Clemens and the things he has done. Those aren't bad credentials. 20 strikeouts in one game. Hit into left field. Greenwell toward the line, is there and makes the catch. Up steps George Brett, the anchor of this Kansas City Royal team, and we had a chance to ask him about the problems that the Royals have had.
Well, it's definitely been a team effort. I don't think you can blame the pitching. I don't think you can blame the offense. I don't think you can blame the defense or the base running. We've all contributed to a miserable first half.
Short and sweet.
Summed it all up right there, didn't he? 50 words or less.
And that's been pretty much the opinion of the rest of the Royals, too, that when the pitching is there one night, the hitting has not been, and vice versa.
Now, I emphasize that point again. This is not a bad ball club, but they're playing poorly. Have had the heart of their lineup, Brett, Tartabull, and Jackson in the lineup for only about a third of the games.
Well, the injury to Danny Tartabull has to be particularly devastating to the Royals and manager John Wathan.
And Jeff Schultz is on his way right now to try to get here in time to play in this doubleheader. They're a little short.
Brett in the left field. This one could be trouble down the left field line, and it falls fair. Brett on his way to second with the first hit of the ball game. If the Royals are going to make a run for it, you've got to figure Brett will be the man to lead the way.
And George Brett just moved ahead of Al Oliver career doubles, and this is not the one that he's probably going to be proudest of. A little bloop behind third base, and then it takes that sideways bounce into the stands for a ground rule double. And Brett now in 16th spot all time. 2 base hits.
So with George Brett out at second and 2 out, here's Jim Eisenreich. And Tony Pena wants to talk things over.
No matter how many times you go over it in the clubhouse, you get a guy on second base, and what's the first thing the pitcher and catcher do? What sign are we using with a man on second? Because they always change that sign sequence.
Eisenreich on a bit of a hot streak. 6 hits in his last 9 at bats. Takes it inside, ball 1. Had 3 hits in the Kansas City 5-3 win last night. Check swing, back to the mound. Clemens will make the play, and that'll do it for the Royals here in the first inning. 1 hit, he's left stranded. We'll go to the bottom of the first, no score. Back at Fenway for the bottom of the first as the Royals fail to score in their half of the first inning, and let's check the Royals defensively.
Well, there's some new names. Pat Tabler's in left field today with Bo Jackson and Tartabull out. Willie Wilson in center. Jim Eisenreich will play right. On the infield, Kevin Seitzer at third base and Kurt Stillwell at short, as they usually are. But then Bill Pacoda will play second. Frank White gets a rest. George Brett at first. Ray Palacios will catch Luis Aquino.
And Luis Aquino will look at the lineup. Looks like this for the Red Sox. Wade Boggs, Jody Reed, Carlos Quintana. Then it's Tom Brunansky. Billy Joe Robideau is the DH. Mike Greenwell in left field. Tony Pena behind the plate. Kevin Romine in center. And Luis Rivera, the shortstop. And Luis Aquino with a 3-0 record gets set to face Wade Boggs. Called strike 1. Luis Aquino did not exactly figure in the starting rotation for the Royals when this season began.
Now here's a pitcher that they thought would do a good job as a middle reliever. You notice the real very deliberate motion that he has, kind of a sneaky fastball, but not planned on to be a part of the starting rotation.
1-1 pitch. Boggs fouls it off. 1-2.
You know, they went out in the wintertime and signed Rich Dotson as a free agent. Then they got Storm Davis to go along with Saberhagen, Mark Gubicza, Tom Gordon. Now with all the injuries, Aquino is the 9th different starter past 2 weeks.
Boggs fouls it off. Not only that, but they went out and got Bob Boone to handle all of those quality pitchers too, and he got hurt.
He's out. His only action is pitching batting practice, which he did today. Had a pin replaced in his index finger of his throwing hand. That's John Wathen, the manager of the Royals.
1-2 to Boggs. Check swing foul, still 1-2. Wade Boggs moving right up the ladder in a very select group of ball players who have managed 200 hits and 100 walks in the same season.
And what's remarkable about Boggs, he's done it 4 consecutive years.
Boggs stays alive. Still a ball and 2 strikes.
This year it'll be a little tougher. He's got 95 hits going into this second half of the season, and he's walked 56 times. Well, that's unusual.
It is a little bit unusual, the strikeouts for Wade Boggs. 1-2, fouled again.
Well, you look at Aquino's motion from the center field angle there. You can tell that the radar gun, it doesn't tell you everything about a pitcher. That very slow, methodical motion, and the fastball gets on you in a hurry.
1-2 pitch outside, and it's 2-2. Boy, that batting average of Wade Boggs has slowly crept up, and it's now up to 305. He's riding a 9-game hitting streak and has hit safely in 18 of his last 19. Off speed, stays outside, and Boggs runs the count full.
Seeing a couple of the great hitters in baseball today, Wade Boggs and George Brett, yet different approaches when you look at them in the box. Boggs with a lot of bat movement, wiggling the fingers, feeling the bat.
Boggs into right field, base hit. So the first hitter of the day for the Red Sox registers their first base hit.
Well, he makes you throw a lot of pitches, Wade Boggs. That's the 6th one by Aquino, and then just reaches out and hooks it into right center field.
And Wade Boggs is no day at the beach for a pitcher. Luis Aquino threw 10 pitches and still ended up on the short end. Here's Jody Reed. Fine number 2 hitter. Looks at ball 1. Reed just 10 hits shy of the 100 mark himself. Red Sox are doing very well to be up in the top spot, with a couple of the ball players that they've had having really very average years.
Jody Reed, probably, if you took a poll amongst the players, he might be the MVP of this ball club at this stage of the year.
Inside, 2-0.
There's a reason right there. You know, we showed that shot of the wall just prior to the game, and You hit a lot of doubles in Fenway Park because of that. Those little looping fly balls, and Reed and Boggs evidence of that.
Two-0 pitch. Called strike. 2-1. Interesting to see how that slow, deliberate delivery of Aquino's will affect the base running.
Yeah, you can get a good jump, though Boggs not a base stealer. This would be an ideal hit and run count, not a base stealing situation. Red Sox don't take advantage of the stolen base very often.
Boggs goes. Swinging. Topper down the third base line. Seitzer will play it. Throw to first. Didn't get him. Kevin Seitzer had it to do over again. He might have let this one go.
You see it just begin to trickle toward the foul line right there. If Seitzer gets the ball out of his glove quickly, he can still get Reed at first. Jody Reed beats it out on the hit and run.
Nice call, Coach. So Boggs down at second now, and Jody Reed at first, and here is Carlos Quintana hitting .315. That number 3 spot, formerly belonging to Mike Greenwell, but with his problems was dropped to number 6 in the order last night and hits down there today. Liner foul.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because Greenwell would normally hit third. And here's a guy they didn't even, you know, he's been a prospect in the organization, but didn't know if he could fit in because of the outfield with Bernansky now and Ellis Burks and Greenwell. They put him over at first base, and he's just played great. And hitting over 300.
Something managers like to see. Half of his RBIs come with 2 out. Didn't have a prayer on that one. It's 0-2.
Yeah, Aquino is a guy that you'd say might have 7 or 8 pitches, and you'll find that with a lot of the Latin American pitchers. They have a wide variety. He's got a pretty good fastball. He'll throw a fork ball, a change, a curve, a slider, a little TNT, this and that.
Two on, nobody out. This one up the middle, double play ball to Pacoda for 1, and the relay gets him in on the play. Boggs moves over to third. Kurt Stillwell gets it started.
Oh, we mentioned Morgan Magic started a couple years ago this same weekend against Kansas City, because in these situations the Red Sox were getting base hits, but now last night they stranded double figures. 9 hits and 9 walks, couldn't score more than 3 runs, and they start out the same way today.
9 hits, 9 walks, throw in a Kansas City error. They had 19 base runners and 3 runs last night, and it was driving manager Morgan crazy today. Here's Tom Brunansky. 1 ball, no strike, and he's been a good addition for this ball club this season.
Well, and that's why he's a good addition right there. Fenway Park, different than Kevin Seitzer's numbers in Kansas City ballpark, but Brunansky a pull hitter. Most of his balls are hit the left field.
One inside, ball 2. Brunansky made a fine defensive play last night, taking a fly ball down the right field line and cutting a Royal down at the plate.
Yeah, he's a guy, he'll get you a lot of RBIs in a short period of time. You'll have those big games where he, you know, a couple extra base hits and 5 or 6 ribbies.
Line foul into the seats down first base line. Perfect summer afternoon here at Fenway Park. In downtown Boston. Temperature about 75.
Low humidity. I think what the players, I know what I always did enjoy coming to Boston, is that shot of downtown. The hotel where the players stay is rather close. You walk out, you pick up that aroma of the sausage vendors in the street and the whole ballpark flavor.
Hey, ice cold there.
That missed outside. If we see the long ball today, it'll be kind of a surprise because these teams rank at the very bottom of the American League in hitting them.
High average hitters. Boston's had a lot of batting champions, but not much power in that lineup this year.
Full count to Bernansky with 2 out and Wade Boggs at third. Ball 4.
Anyway, talking about that home run production, Greg, many would look to the teachings of a Charlie Lau and a Walter Reniak and say that when the controversy starts discussing hitting instructors, that type of swing lends itself to average hitting, but not as much of a power swing. And that might have a good reason there. Kansas City and Boston, both influenced by Lau and Reniak.
Here's Billy Joe Robideau. Strike 1. Of course, Walt Herniak has moved over to the Chicago White Sox, and he's done a good job there, but they don't hit the ball out of spacious Comiskey Park.
More of a singles hitting type team.
Oh, that one got in tight on Robideau. Appears to be all right, but that loads the bases.
Oh, nice break for Boston. That's what you call taking one for the club. Dewey Evans out of the lineup in this first game. Robideau gets a chance to play and gets hit to load the bases for Mike Greenwell.
Bases are loaded. That's Wade Boggs at third. Runner at second, Tom Bernansky. And over at first is Robideau. And here is Mike Greenwell, who has been struggling, and he's playing on a very sore right knee and an even more sore left ankle. Called strike.
Mike Greenwell hasn't hit a home run in Fenway Park since late April. Only has a couple since last year, and there's one of the reasons. That left ankle, wearing an air cast. He cannot turn on the ball.
He's had it examined. It will be examined again after tonight's ball game because team physician Dr. Arthur Pappas says he wants to see if it swells 3 games in 37-38 hours. Greenwell says he can play with the pain, but his numbers just haven't been there. Towards second base, Pacoda will make the play at first, and Aquino escapes without any damage. We've played 1 here at Fenway. No score.
Well, your lower body is your power base, and if you can't push off your back foot, Mike Greenwell with that air cast, you can't generate the power. You can't get the bat head out front. And watch the results. That little ground ball to second base.
If you can't pivot as well, I'm assuming if you're a pitcher, you're jamming Mike Greenwell all day long.
Exactly.
Here's Gerald Perry leading off the Kansas City second.
Yeah, the same thing's true for a pitcher. You look at Roger Clemens. How does he get his power? Pushes off that back leg, wedging that foot against the rubber.
Foul back. Gerald Perry has been out of the lineup last couple of nights with a sore finger on the hand, but he's back now. They are scoreless at Pittsburgh. I guess if they can keep the benches from clearing there, they'll get that game in.
Well, they had one Friday night, Thursday night.
Two to Perry. Breaking ball almost got it on the outside, and Clemens wanted it.
A little early indication of Jim Evans' strike zone. There was some borderline pitches in the first inning that were called balls, and there's that backdoor breaking ball that Pena and Clemens thought was a strike.
Perry fouls it back. Kansas City hates to see Roger Clemens take them out.
A lot of teams do.
Full count pitch to Perry. Line base hit right center field. Perry makes the big turn at first before going back, so the Royals get the leadoff man on here in the top of the second. And here is Willie Wilson. Hitting .283 and getting a chance to play in Bo Jackson's absence. And now, Roger Clemens is going back at plate umpire Jim Evans And I would guess for that call on that 2-2 pitch to Gerald Perry. And now Joe Morgan has taken up the argument.
Joe Morgan gets in there in a hurry. He doesn't mind if he gets thrown out. He doesn't want Clemens.
Meanwhile, look at the umpires around Roger Clemens on the mound.
Well, one of the things that Roger Clemens brings to the mound, besides that arsenal of pitches, is a very competitive approach. You know, earlier in the year, he drilled Stan Jefferson in Cleveland in retaliation.
And Jim Evans is going to stay out there until he's made his point. And of course, Joe Morgan has to be careful how he approaches this conversation.
Every home plate umpire, you can look at the rule book and see the strike zone, but every home plate umpire establishes their own zone.
Here's that 2-2 pitch to Gerald Perry a few moments ago. That's the one Clemens thought he had, and you could see his reaction.
Now, that view right there, we get a second look at it. That ball actually broke around the plate, so I think Jim Evans made the right call on that pitch.
Scientists have said that the ball can't do that. Don't you know that?
Optical illusion. Hey, watch this pitch. Now, it will break around. It'll go almost over the line of the batter's box and break around the plate. That's not a strike.
And Clemens keeping Perry close. Perry has 6 steals in 9 tries this year. And Wilson tries to lay it up the third base line and bunts it foul.
And despite all of Willie Wilson's speed, that's one thing he's never been very adept at. And here's a guy that has never walked more than 40 times a year, never driven in more than 50 runs. You really should be one of the great leadoff hitters in baseball.
We were standing around the batting cage last night talking about relative speed, and while most of the Royals acknowledge that Bo Jackson is the fastest guy on the team, certainly the fastest in baseball, Willie Wilson's better going from first to third. There's a chopper out towards second. Reed to second for one. The relay doesn't get Wilson. And interference is going to be called at second base on Gerald Perry.
Well, and now we'll get a little reaction from John Wathan.
Well, I'll say John Wathan is charging out of the dugout.
And the Duke says, hey, I teach my players to go into second base aggressively and try to break up the double play. And Tim Welke made the decision that Gerald Perry went out of the way.
Let's see how far out of the way Gerald Perry goes. I'd say
pretty good. You should be able to reach out and touch the bag, you know, to slide either side.
I don't think you could telephone the bag from where he was.
And you don't see this play called very often. It's just one of those little things that happen at second base that go unnoticed, but Tim Welke jumped right on it and said, "No, you went too far out of the way." And once again, I think the umpire made the correct call in that case.
Calm has been restored on the infield. Roger Clemens is probably feeling better. And the Royals now have the bases empty and 2 out. And here's Pat Tabler, the left fielder. That one's up high, ball 1. Things have not gone according to plan for that man and his team this season. This one hit down the right field line, foul.
Now, you take any team in baseball and take the heart of their batting order, and either through injuries or ineffectiveness, you know, George Brett got off to a very slow start, and kind of analyze those 3, 4, and 5 hitters. If they're not producing, you're not going to win a lot of games. That's what's happened to the Royals.
Called strike, 1 and 2. And on top of everything else, of course, the much publicized trouble that Mark Davis has had with the Kansas City Royals, and the rest of his bullpen is not in great shape either.
Jeff Montgomery, one of those pitchers like Luis Aquino, they figured as sort of a setup man. He's had to become the stopper because of Davis's ineffectiveness.
Asked John Wathen today before the game, does Mark Davis show any signs of coming out of it? He said no, not yet. Two balls, two strikes. Hit on the nose, up the gap in left center field. Romine over quickly. Tabler on his way to second and should get there in time. Second two-base hit of the game for the Royals.
No matter how hard you throw, if the fastball's in the middle of the strike zone where that one was, big league hitters will catch up with it. And Tabler, who normally is the designated hitter for the Royals because of the injury to Tartabull and the absence of Bo Jackson, getting a chance to play in the field also today.
Here's second baseman Bill Pecota.
Frank White, the veteran, getting a day off. They've been waiting for Pecota to become a good big league ball player. Puts so much pressure on himself, squeezes the sawdust out of the bat. Now much more relaxed at the plate, hitting over 300.
And now plate umpire Jim Evans is going to make sure that Pecota knows exactly where the batter's box is. This has all the makings of a fun afternoon early on. Strike call to Pecota.
Yeah, they line those batters boxes so it looks nice to the fans when they come in, but they might just as well take the leadoff hitter and say, here, go ahead and dig your spot. And that's where we'll establish the batter's box. Everybody rubs that back line out.
Foul back. That's the leadoff man's first duty, is it not? Get rid of that back line of the batter's box.
Get rid of that. How you doing? Whoever's catching, then take about 4 or 5 pitches. Go back to the bench. Tell your teammates what the pitcher's throwing. Get on base if you can.
A ball and 2 strikes to Pecota. Up the middle. Back of second is Jody Reed. Long throw gets his man to retire the side. So again, the Royals strand a runner. We'll go to the bottom of the second, scoreless. Along with Jim Cott, Greg Gumbel back at Fenway Park in Boston as we go to the bottom of the second inning of a scoreless game. And Luis Aquino will face Tony Pena to lead things off. Jim, you're convinced this is perhaps the biggest and most positive change in the Red Sox.
I think so. For years, the Red Sox have known as that kind of a dour clubhouse atmosphere. And Tony Pena brings a happiness to this ball club, as well as being a good player.
Cuts on the first pitch and misses.
He's a guy you love to see when you walk out of the dugout and onto the field. And the first guy you see with a smile on your face, it kind of brightens your day also.
Pena riding a 5-game hitting streak. Talking to him about catching games in this ballpark, and he says he loves to see these right-handed hitters come in and they can barely watch the pitcher for having their eye on the green monster. Inside, 2-1.
And that's that target those right-hand hitters try to hit. They love to get that ball from the middle of the plate in and try to turn on it.
Called strike, and I'm sure many a pitcher has used that to a tremendous advantage over the years.
Yeah, they talk about pitching inside. I almost think today they talk too much pitching inside. Sure, you have to pitch in there occasionally, but boy, this ballpark, you can make a living with sinkers down and away. Watch those right-handers try to jerk it.
Second inning, Pirates have taken a 3-run lead on San Diego. Slow breaking ball doesn't catch the plate. Rounds the count full to 3-2. Fouled off. Yes, because once you get away from those short left and right field foul lines, there is plenty of room to roam here in Fenway.
Now, a pitcher could never complain about a short field in left field like Fenway Park as long as you have that nice area in right field where you get the guy to hit the ball the other way. That's a 380 to right center. You got to crush it to get it out in right field.
In fact, there are many people who think that those bleachers out there beyond the bullpen is a short poke. And it's a monumental shot. Another full count pitch to Pena. Strike 3 call. And Tony knew it.
Good movement on Aquino's fastball. You see Palacios sitting on the outside corner, and that ball just moves back across the corner, and Pena gives up on it. Got me.
So Aquino brings up Tony Pena. Here's Kevin Romine. And that's up high, ball 1. Down the right field line, that one will drift foul into the seats. Fenway Park in Boston, 37,410 capacity. Greg Gumbel along with Jim Cott. Glad you've joined us for Major League Baseball on CBS. We are scoreless with 1 out in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Red Sox and the Royals. That one in tight. And it's 2-1.
Kevin Romine, a big part of Morgan Magic, because it was this weekend 2 years ago against the Royals. See, this pitch I don't really think is that close, but hitters are not accustomed to the ball being thrown up there, and anything in that area they dive away from.
This one hit deep to left field. It's gone. Number 2 of the year for Romine, 10 RBIs, and the Red Sox are up by 1.
And the 4th of his career. And talk about that Morgan Magic. It was 2 years ago when Kevin Romine hit the game winner in the 9th inning off Steve Farr. Here he gives the Red Sox the lead in the 2nd inning off Luis Aquino.
Here's Luis Rivera, the number 9 hitter in the Boston order. 4 career home runs, and Kevin Romine has hit 3 of them off Kansas City pitching. That misses up high. That one fouled back. That's the 5th home run ball Luis Aquino has thrown this year. And Boston in the lead, 1-0. One-two pitch fouled past third.
You begin looking for omens, you know, whatever team you follow. In Kansas City's case, they've all been bad. The injuries and the ineffectiveness in Mark Davis. The Red Sox, you look for some good things, and that home run by Romine is an example. Here's Evans on the bench. Greenwell's been hurt. Burks is hurt. Romine gives him the lead.
That one's outside. You mentioned Ellis Burks, who, when he's healthy, one of the fine young players in either league. And he may play tonight in the second game of this day-night doubleheader. Popped up right over the pitcher's mound. Everybody converges, and that's out number 1.
Yeah, I like it. You know, there's nothing that says the pitcher has to bail out and wait for one of the infielders to.
Yeah, but managers hate that.
Well, but I know, but pitcher's an athlete. He's got a glove on his hand. You might as well use it. You look up in this bright sky, and Stillwell and Seitzer, Brett have to come from a long ways. Aquino says, I can handle that. My glove's the same size as yours.
Here's Wade Boggs. Take strike 1. Wade single to right center, leading off the bottom of the 1st, and now has a 10-game hitting streak.
really shade Stillwell over in the hole against Boggs. They leave the middle of the diamond open.
That one misses, and it's 2-1.
That's a different philosophy team to team, and of course every pitcher is different. But some teams shade Wade Boggs the other way. They'll play the shortstop near second base, get the third baseman off the line.
Considering the fact that he's shown the ability to hit to all fields, why wouldn't you just play him straight away, or is that just a pitching philosophy?
Yeah, I think Abner Doubleday put him there for a reason. I think the percentages say you play most of them straight away.
That one catches the outside corner.
You know, you'll come out ahead. Kurt Simmons used to play him a step one way, the pull hitters shade him a step the other, but now with all the charts.
Full count pitch, line to center field. Willie Wilson is there for the catch, and that'll do it. But on Kevin Romine's home run, the Red Sox grab a 1-run lead after 2. Sun shines down on the city of Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome back to Fenway as we start the top of the 3rd inning, and Ray Palacios, the Royals catcher, will lead it off against Roger Clemens. Over at 3rd for the Kansas City Royals, Adrian Garrett. Bob Schaefer coaching over at 1st. And Clemens misses, ball 2. Mike McFarland behind the plate last night for the Royals, and as John Wathan continues to shuffle until Bob Boone gets back.
Palacios was a top catching prospect with the Tigers, and the Royals made a trade for Ted Power and got Palacios in that trade. He's kind of a guy that can do more than just catch. He can play a little third base in an emergency. Good arm, good throwing arm.
3-0 pitch is up high, ball 4. And as Palacios trots down to first, let's check in with New York and Andrea Joyce. Andrea.
Greg, an unusual play in Pittsburgh. Bob Walk strikes out for what would have been the 3rd out. Ball gets away from catcher Mark Parent. Jose Lean scores from 3rd. Pittsburgh added another, and the Pirates lead the Padres 3-0 in the 3rd. Greg?
Thanks, Andrea. It's 1-0 Red Sox here. Well, those Pirates, just another of those scrappy teams that you just can't get rid of.
Talk about omens and good things happening. There's a pitcher strikes out.
Here's Kevin Seitzer with a teammate at 1st. Back up the middle. Flag down, knocked down, can't make a play on it. Luis Rivera keeps it from going into center field, and that'll go as an infield hit for Seitzer.
Well, Luis Rivera has played some of the best shortstop the Red Sox have had in the first part of the year. But now there's a ball earlier in the year he was picking. So that ball hit him in the middle of the glove. And if he were to see it again, he'd probably say that should have been a double play. And that play is what is causing the Red Sox to begin to talk about Tim Nearing, who's down at Pawtucket. Many feel might be called up any day now and get an opportunity to play at shortstop.
And they have given Luis Rivera an error.
And one of the reasons he was acquired in that trade from Montreal is because of his fielding ability. And that was a ball he really didn't have to go too far to get a hold of, and it hit him in the middle of the glove.
So Palacios down at 2nd. And Seitzer over at 1st. Nobody out. Stillwell squares around the bunt, takes ball 1. And that time, Wade Boggs charging from 1st, Quintana, or Boggs from 3rd, Quintana from 1st. And Rivera was moving over to cover 3rd base.
Yeah, the Red Sox will put what they call the rotation play on. Boggs will charge. Rivera will rotate over to 3rd.
Foul back.
See, now they mixed it up. Boggs held his ground. Rivera broke towards 2nd. Every team will have about 4 signs, 4 different variations of defensing the bunt with 1st and 2nd and nobody out.
John Wathan just trying to figure out what they're going to do. Stillwell with a 1-1 count, trying to move the runners over. Palacios at second, Kevin Seitzer at first. He swings away, runners go, throw down the third, and he's got him.
Wow. Talk about running yourself out of a potential big inning. Here's a guy you depend on to make contact. You see the frustration on Stillwell's face. The rest is easy. Pena just tosses to Boggs. Palacio is out by plenty.
So now the count is 1-2 on Stillwell. Seitzer is out at second with one out. That one in the dirt.
Sometimes the best way in baseball is keep it simple, whether you're pitching, hitting, or, you know, the percentages would say just drop down a good old-fashioned bunt, move them up. If they walk Brett, you got Jim Eisenreich hitting with the bases loaded. But Wathen tried a little something unusual, and it backfired.
Although the thought was good, because as you say, you depend on Stillwell to make contact. Good contact hitter. 2-2 pitch. Hit in the left field. Greenwell puts it away for out number 2. So now George Brett will try to save what was a promising inning for the Royals.
That's another thing that was surprising about that play there, is because Brett was coming up, you'd think, you know, force the Red Sox, bunt the guys over, and if they do walk Brett, you have Jim Eisenreich hitting in the cleanup spot today, who's done a great job for the Royals.
Boston lost last night here to Kansas City. Toronto shut down by Jim Abbott out in California, and Toronto still trails Boston by just a few percentage points.
And keep your eye on those Cleveland Indians there at 500, just 4.5 games back.
Meanwhile, Junior Felix underwent emergency surgery last night for bleeding in his right calf. He's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. That'll be a blow to the Blue Jays. Brett takes strike one.
Talk about weird injuries in baseball this year. They just lost an outfielder, Glenn Allen Hill, because of leg injuries, daydreaming about spiders.
I've done that.
You have?
0-1 to Brett. Inside, a ball and a strike.
A little sleepwalking. I guess there's some instances of that.
Of course, you think in the case of a baseball player, might be daydreaming about sliders.
Yeah, not spiders.
One and two. Ball and 2 strikes to George Brett, who blooped a ground rule double down the left field line his first time up. With 2 out and Kevin Seitzer at second base. Inside.
See, here's where Clemens becomes more than just a fastball pitcher. He really threw Brett an outstanding forkball. The pitch before that breaks down and away. Now that inside fastball to push him off the plate almost sets that forkball up again.
Can you be successful anymore with 2 pitches?
Well, if you're a relief pitcher, I think for a starter, if you just have 2, you have to have awfully good control of the 1, which Clemens does.
That one misses, and the count is full now to Brett at 3-2.
Yeah, with first base open, even though it's early, Clemens is not going to give Brett anything in the middle of that strike zone to hit at.
Brett has not exactly made a reputation by hitting off of Roger Clemens, but who has? Full count pitch. Got him swinging. First strikeout for Clemens. No runs, no hits, 1 left. We'll go to the bottom of the 3rd, and we'll return to Fenway Park after this word from your local station. From beneath the lower grandstand here at Fenway, we go to the bottom of the 3rd inning with the Red Sox leading at 1-0 on Kevin Romine's 2nd home run of the year. And Jody Reed will lead off the bottom of the 3rd. He topped a slow roller up the 3rd base line and beat Kevin Seitzer's throw back in the 1st inning. So he stands in at 1-for-1. And Luis Aquino goes back to work. Inside, ball 1. That's called strike, and it's a ball and a strike. On the baselines for the Red Sox, it's Rex Slider over at third, and over at first, Al Bunbury. Up the middle, back of second, Pacoda, out number 1. Right now, let's go back to Andrea Joyce in New York for an update. Andrea.
Greg, how about this? The Padres are charging back at Three Rivers Stadium. 2 outs, third inning. Joe Carter takes Bob Walk deep to left. A 3-run shot. That's Carter's 14th home run of the season, and the Padres take the lead. Now let's go back to Greg and Jim.
All right, Andrea. Carlos Quintana looks at ball 1.
Talk about those Red Sox coaches. Rex Slider. He thought he would have been a pitcher. Played against Rex Slider in the minor leagues. He was an infielder.
Sounds like one of those pitches that a minor leaguer develops.
Yeah.
Well, he throws the fastball, the curve, the changeup, and he's got that rack slider. Quintana grounded into a double play back in the first inning. So he's 0 for 1. And we have 1 out, nobody on, bottom of the third inning. And Quintana is on base. You were talking earlier about the differences in these two batting stances.
Yeah, you see George Brett weight back, lays the bat on the shoulder, and then watch his head come off that ball. The head comes up. Of course, that's the strikeout. Now Boggs with the vertical bat. Watch his head right on the ball. A little more bat movement and hand movement than George Brett. They both get the job done rather well.
Here's Tom Brunansky. Walked his first time up. The teammate at first and 1 out. And a big swing and a miss. Brunansky checking with rack slider down at third. You're talking with Bruno before the game. He looks happy to be here.
I think Bruno is like Tony Pena, happy to be playing baseball. I mean, he's a guy that brings that happiness to the Red Sox clubhouse also. Doesn't take the game too seriously.
That's up high.
You know, and that's meant as a compliment. That doesn't mean he doesn't care about the game, but he's a guy that can laugh off some tough days.
Ball and 2 strikes. Misses inside and evens the count at 2-2.
That's a big decision the Red Sox will have to make. They acquired Brunansky in the Lee Smith trade. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. I would imagine come September we'll be hearing about the contract talks.
Breaking ball. Brunansky swinging.
Pushed him away with the fastball and then gets him with the breaking ball. You can see by that swing what right-hand hitters have in mind here at Fenway, trying to pull that pitch.
So 2 out and a runner at first now, and here's Billy Joe Robideau, who took one off of the arm. Hit by pitch his first time up. Looks at ball 1.
See, now if he were a star everyday player, you remember the old song Joltin' Joe DiMaggio? I could see that with Billy Joe Robideau. Be out there every day, and instead of a candy bar he'd have a song.
2-0.
The Duke, John Wathan.
Off speed is in there.
Say catchers can't run. John Wathan still holds the major league record for stolen bases. He stole 36 of them one year during his playing career.
Keno keeping an eye on first base.
That's a
2
ball.
out, and that is a ball.
Well, what happens to a pitcher when he does this, you've made up your mind to throw the pitch. Now watch Aquino. he already has his mind made up of the sign. Oh, now he says, no, I don't want the fastball sign, and he stops. And umpire Jim Evans and first base umpire Drew Coble picked up on it immediately.
That's the first balk Aquino's committed this year. And Robideau will try to make it pay off in the form of a run.
You have that all in your mind. You're going to get on the rubber and you say, I'm going to throw a fastball, and you look down and the catcher gives you the opposite sign, and you just by instinct stop in the middle of your motion.
And Aquino and Stillwell combining to keep Quintana close at second. The 3-1 pitch misses, and Robideau is on at first, and there's Mike Greenwell.
You don't often get by with this 2 times in a ball game. Here's a guy, Robideau, who's just in the lineup because of the doubleheader today, giving Evans a game's rest, and he gets hit by a pitch, and now he walks to put a couple more men on for Mike Greenwell.
Aquino has issued 3 bases on balls, and Mike Greenwell, hearing a few boos, he grounded out to second with the bases loaded in the first inning. Hit in the air, short left center. Willie Wilson coming on to make the catch, and that'll do it. The Red Sox strand 2 more runners. We'll go to the 4th. 1-0 Boston. Ready for the top of the 4th inning. Boston leading Kansas City 1-0. Greg Gumbel along with Jim Cott. Nice to see a sunny day, you and I having come from Wrigley Field in Chicago. Once again, Mike Greenwell heard some boos. This is a guy playing in some tremendous pain. Is that very fair?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, look at this swing right here. He cannot push off that back foot. It just gives way, and as a result, pitchers are getting in his kitchen. You know, that fastball up and in, he just can't pull it. Can't turn the ankle. Yeah, he's had a couple of times that ankle just give out on him in an at-bat at the plate. Jim Eisenreich leads off the 4th inning. Of course, I say, is it fair for fans? And fans want some production, and Mike understands if he's going to play hurt, he's got to produce.
Eisenreich, line drive, left field, base hit. So Eisenreich leads off the top of the 4th inning.
Hitting in the cleanup spot, but still uses the whole field. Eisenreich, what a great story this has been. Out for a couple of seasons, playing semi-pro ball at St. Cloud, Minnesota. And the Royals decided to give him a second chance. He's afflicted with Tourette's syndrome, a nerve disorder that appeared to shorten his big league career. He's made a great comeback.
He can run the bases, too.
Yeah, here you'd look for a stolen base.
Gerald Perry, who singled to right center back in the 2nd inning.
Mentioned the Red Sox have only stolen 22. They're last in the league. The Royals 3 times that many. They will, even in Fenway Park, use the stolen base to their advantage.
And Clemens will check Eisenreich at first. Eisenreich has stolen 10 out of 20. Bluffs a go and called strike on the outside corner for Clemens.
Oh, and if he does try to steal, the fans get a treat because you get to watch Tony Pena, one of the best throwing arms of any major league catcher.
Tony looks very comfortable back there behind the plate. Sometimes will fire down to first base from a sitting position on the ground.
He's got a great arm, and he loves to show it.
Last night, Eisenreich stole second on a pitch out. And one of those situations where the Red Sox read it correctly, and Pena just didn't get the job done with the throw. High and tight, and there's the throw down to first.
Eisenreich's trying to read, as all base stealers do, they try to read that pitcher's motion. They'll take a look at at the pitcher. In this case, Eisenreich will zone in on Clemens' footwork. As soon as he lifts that front foot to head toward home, he'll try to get that quick jump.
This is the third straight inning the Royals have gotten their leadoff man on, but so far they've come up goose eggs against Clemens.
Yeah, and you don't get that many chances against Roger Clemens. You got to cash them in while you get them.
This one line off of Boggs' glove at third. That'll be an infield hit, and the Royals with runners at first and second.
Just like Eisenreich, Gerald Perry uses the whole field. Tries to shoot it to left. Boggs prevents that ball from being a double just by leaping and getting a glove on it.
So once again, the Royals threaten. Willie Wilson, part of a controversy, his first time up, bounced into what turned out to be a double play when the base runner was called for interference, and gets the sacrifice bunt down, and the play is at first. So this time the Royals execute the sacrifice and move the runners over. It's a 1-0 ball game. And Kevin Romine saw to that in the second inning, hitting his second home run of the year off of Luis Aquino. Mike Greenwell has personally left 5 men on, and Roger Clemens with just 1 strikeout so far needs 6 more to catch Cy Young for the all-time strikeout lead for the Red Sox.
That might tell you something about Roger's arm and the talk of a little bit of fatigue. Only 1 strikeout. That's unusual for him.
I flew out here from Chicago with Roger on the plane and asked him about any arm fatigue, and he just kind of shrugged it off. Did admit, though, that he didn't mind not going out into the rain and throwing Tuesday night. Here's Pat Tabler, who doubled to left center back in the second inning. So he's 1 for 1. Called strike 1. Royals with runners at second and third and 1 out. In the top of the 4th inning, they trail 1-0. You talk about getting to pitchers early when you have the chance, or otherwise their momentum gets them going pretty well. Clemens falls into that category.
It seems that all the great ones do, and the only reason you can come up with is that early in the game the power pitchers maybe are not quite as sharp. You know, Bob Gibson, Tom Seaver, Nolan Ryan, not quite as sharp early, so maybe they're a little more vulnerable the first couple innings. Once they get into that 4th, you're right, Clemens falls into that category. It's a little tougher if you don't get him early.
55 pitches for Clemens here and early in the 4th inning. Tabler fouls it back. Injuries notwithstanding, it's just difficult to believe that the Kansas City Royals are going to be a last-place team for much longer.
Well, and they've, I think, can use the second half of this season to prove that they are not as bad a ball club as they've been playing. Not going to win the American League West, but can do some damage.
Tabler at the plate, Bill Pacoda on deck. Strike 3 call. And Clemens appeared to come a little bit sidearm.
See, and that's why he is more than just a fastball pitcher. This is a little imagination. High leg kick gives Tabler a different look and sticks it right on the outside corner. Tabler doesn't believe it. I haven't seen that pitch from Roger before, he says.
Nor I.
He kind of stares at him. Where'd that come from?
Second strikeout of the game for Clemens. He's walked 1. And here is Bill Pacoda, who grounded out his first time up in the second inning. Runners at second and third and 2 out now. That's called strike.
That's another thing about the great pitchers. I'm talking about Gibson and Ryan and Seaver not getting him early. They also make great pitches with men on base. Pitch their way out of jams like this.
Eisenreich at third, Perry at second. And that's a ball and a strike. There's Jim Eisenreich leading off at third, and Gerald Perry at second. And the outfield plays Bill Pacoda straight away and fairly shallow. 1-1 in the dirt. Nice stop by Tony Pena.
Now, Greg, years ago, runners used to pick up handfuls of dirt. You see Gerald Perry has a glove in each hand. You wonder why he has that. When he makes the slide, instead of jamming his hands into the ground, possibility of an injured wrist, by holding something in there, you slide and you lift them up in the air. So instead of dirt, they've improvised and used the batting gloves.
So instead of a hand and glove approach, it's more like a glove in hand.
Yeah, you got it. I can relate to that. In White Sox Park, one of your favorite parks, Comiskey, I slid into second base, didn't have that, jammed my wrist, broke the navicular bone, was out the rest of the year. If I'd have had what Gerald Perry has, wouldn't have had the injury.
Well, that's why managers don't want pitchers running the bases, catching pop-ups on the mound.
That's why they came up with the DH, right?
Hey, hot dog. Hot dog.
Was Chuck Tanner your manager when you did that?
He was.
I'll bet Chuck went crazy. 2-1 with 2 out. Up high, ball 3.
I take that back. It was in White Sox Park, but I was still a member of the Twins. So Chuck Tanner was managing on the other side. It was Bill Rigney. He's now an executive with the Oakland A's.
I bet Bill Rigney liked it even less. 3-1 pitch inside, and the bases are loaded.
That looked like almost a semi-intentional walk. Clemens has better control of that, but Pacoda's been swinging the bat rather well. Palacios, not an everyday player. Clemens says, I'll walk Pacoda, take my chances with the number 9 hitter.
Well, the last time he faced Ray Palacios, he walked the number 9 hitter. Bases are full of Royals. Jim Eisenreich at third. Gerald Perry down at second. And Bill Pacoda over at first. Palacios with a foul ball down the right field line. We're mentioning Palacios and Mike McFarland taking over the catching duties while Bob Boone recovers. And Booney had a pin placed in his finger.
Tried to throw some batting practice today just to get back in the groove of throwing. Probably be activated when the Royals get home in another week.
0-2.
Got by with a high breaking ball. You see Pena's target. Clemens didn't want it there, but he got by with it. Right up there where Palacios likes it.
0-2 pitch. Clemens came back with that same motion in which he got his last strikeout.
Both Pena and Clemens, no harm done. They're trying to influence home plate umpire Jim Evans, but this one was not quite on the corner like the one to Taylor.
A ball and 2 strikes, and Clemens with the crowd behind him. I'll bet you've played days here when it sounded like more than 37,000 people.
Oh man, the fans right in close to the infield. This crowd can sound like 100,000.
A ball and 2 strikes, bases loaded, 2 out. 2-2.
Ray Palacios kept his chances alive by that real good swing. The pitch before that just kind of reached out. Those are good at bats when you foul off the pitcher's pitch, and then eventually later in the count you get your pitch and take advantage of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to technical difficulties, our program has been temporarily interrupted. Please stand by. We will resume just as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, due to technical difficulties, our program has been temporarily interrupted. Please stand by. We will resume just as soon as possible.
Those of you watching the Royals and the Red Sox were having a little bit of a technical problem, so we're going to switch you now over to Pittsburgh and Three Rivers Stadium. The score right there now, San Diego is leading Pittsburgh 4-3 in the 5th inning, and let's go over now to Jack Buck.
Well, welcome back to Fenway Park, where, well, you'd hate to say it was a bit of a shocker, but where all of our power suddenly disappeared and we had nothing to do. Meanwhile, top of the 5th inning, Kevin Seitzer grounds out to Wade Boggs. When you were here last, it was the top of the 4th inning. The Royals had the bases loaded, and Ray Palacios was up, and Roger Clemens got him on a called 3rd strike to end the 4th, and the Royals failed to score, and then Luis Aquino put the Red Sox down in order in the bottom of the 4th.
Only fitting with these two teams, the last 2 in home runs, that we'd have a power outage. Morgan and Wathan already knew that.
So 1 down now in the 5th inning, and here's Kurt Stillwell. And that's outside ball 1. Meanwhile, we are still getting many of our facilities back, including our graphics. So if you bear with us for a while, we'll continue to fill you in as best we can. It's nice just to be back on the air.
Yeah.
Ground ball, base hit right field. So Stillwell, who flied out to left in the 1st and to left in the 3rd, pulls it into right field for a hit.
Here's that approach we're talking about. Weight back, steady head right over the ball, and then the high finish. That's the Heriniak, Charlie Lau style of hitting.
And here's George Brett. And I can imagine that you can find as many in favor of it as there are against it.
Oh yeah, it's not a criticism when you say that it's not a power stroke, because it's helped so many guys. George Brett mentioned it. Ozzie Guillen in Chicago. Definitely helps the contact hitters.
Brett stands in at 1 for 2 with a 1st inning double, and drives it foul down the left field line.
With a challenge in pitching to George Brett in this ballpark. He stands so far away from the plate, but yet he strides into it. You throw him on the outside corner, he'll take you over that wall or against it in a minute, and yet he's tough to get inside on.
The runner at first is Kurt Stillwell. With 1 out, top of the 5th inning, and Kansas City still trying to break through against Roger Clemens. Took a little something off of it. And Brett behind in the count, 0-2. Bounce towards second. Reed to second for 1. Relay. Brett beat the throw. So Stillwell is erased with the force out at second, and now Brett is on at first with 2 out.
Well, in the same pitch that Clemens struck him out on, that fork ball, Brett just catches the top part of it, and the high hopper to Reed hit slowly, and no chance to turn 2. A pitcher's pitch. Boy, it isn't often you get George Brett to chase a pitch like that.
So with Brett on at first and 2 out, here's Jim Eisenreich. And look at that. We get writing back on the screen. Eisenreich takes strike 1.
It was like some kind of a magic genie here at Fenway. A big puff of smoke out behind the center field scoreboard at Fenway Park, and power in the entire area out for a short period of time.
Ground ball towards short. Rivera will take the force at second, and that'll do it for the Royals here in the top of the 5th inning. They leave a runner. 1-0 Boston. Fenway Park in Boston is the scene of this game of the week on CBS. Boston leads at 1-0. Kevin Romine's 2nd home run of the year back in the 2nd inning off of Luis Aquino, standing up now, and Wade Boggs. leads off the bottom of the 5th and a called strike. Boggs with a base hit in the 1st and a line out to center his next time up, so he's 1 for 2. And John Wathen has gotten a pretty good performance out of Aquino, but the support hasn't been there for him today. Boggs with a drive to center field. Willie Wilson out number 1. We've talked about some of the things that make older ballparks special, and here in Fenway there's a little something in the scoreboard.
Well, I'll tell you, you come out here and you see a little something different all the time. Right there, that line where you see the Minnesota-Baltimore numbers is in between the scoreboard totals, Morse code, the initials of Tom Yawkey. And then over here where you see the Texas-Detroit numbers and the R and the P are the initials of Gene Yawkey.
The Yawkeys, of course, legendary names in Major League Baseball. Jody Reed, 1 for 2. Called strike. Two and 1. It's an original way to remember someone, isn't it, by Morse code?
Kind of put your own personal imprint right on the ballpark.
There's a drive into right center field, and this is extra bases written all over it. No. Going to slow down. Willie Wilson comes up throwing, and a hustling Jody Reed makes it into second base.
Well, Jody Reed with his 27th double, and the way you hit doubles is right out of the box. You see him starting out running hard from step 1. He's got his mind made up. I'm going for 2. And the head first slide to complete the double.
And Willie Wilson headed the wrong way to make an effective throw into second base. So here's Carlos Quintana.
Yeah, what becomes important now for Jody Reed, yes, you've hit a double, but Fenway Park, more than any other park in baseball, it's so important for you to get a big lead off second base, because a base hit in the left field, down the left field line, he's got a good shot at throwing you out at home. You got to get a big lead to score here.
Quintana 0 for 1 with a walk.
Yeah, we were talking earlier in the game about why managers play hitters certain way. Look how Willie Wilson is shaded way over into right center. And also Eisenreich toward the line against Quintana, even though this is a right-handed hitter's ballpark to pull the ball.
That one inside. Fenway Park in Boston. With all those sausages that Jim Cott can't wait to get to after the game or between innings.
Yeah.
Greg Gumbel along with Jim Cott. 1-0 Red Sox, bottom of the 5th inning. And they're threatening to get more. Jody Reed at second. That's a called strike.
They're getting back to the defense. Most managers keep charts. Every pitcher has like a different colored pencil, and they'll chart every ball that they hit off Luis Aquino. There's the chart right there, and over a period of time you learn where to position your players against certain hitters.
Let's see how true the charts ring on Quintana. 2 balls and a strike. Ball 3. Pat Tabler just a few steps off of the warning track and left. In there, 3-2. There's Pat Tabler, just a few steps away from our camera.
One of the great fields in baseball to play, left field in Fenway. Haven't had too many guys do it here as a member of the Red Sox in the last few decades. You're looking at Williams, and Yaz, and Greenwell, Jim Rice.
Full count, 1 out. Ball 4. So Aquino now has to look at the number 4 hitter in Tom Brunansky. John Wathan being pretty patient, although in this situation I don't think he has much choice. He was very patient with Tom Gordon last night, who got off to a rocky start and yet was able to get the win.
Yeah, he's kind of strapped in his bullpen because of some injuries.
Down toward third, Seitzer steps on the bag for 1 across the diamond, high throw, and Brett got back down in time for the double play. So the Red Sox leave more runners stranded and still lead by 1. It would appear it's always lunchtime or close to it at a ballpark, huh? Welcome back to Fenway, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Jim Cott. What's this?
Well, this could be a weapon when you come into this ballpark. We used to give one of our coaches a towel, and during the game at Fenway Park, they'd go down to that corner, in the left field corner. When you have men on first and second and 1 out, and there's a little ball, there's a ball hit, you know, in the air, and you don't know whether it's going to be caught or hit that wall. You look up in the corner, and one of your coaches was waving the towel. If you were on base, take off and keep going. If you're the coach up there, don't make a mistake.
Well, you guys just have different devious ways
Well,
of.
see, it's a little more scientific nowadays, but years ago it was a simple thing like a towel.
Well, what? What's more scientific now? What would they do nowadays?
Well, they have a monitor.
Wave a flare. Here's Gerald Perry, who is 2 for 2 against Roger Clemens. That one's outside.
Wow.
Beach ball's anonymous. Out in the center field bleachers. There's a drive into right field, and Gerald Perry is 3 for 3. Makes the big turn at first and is going to hold up as Brunansky comes up with a strong throw. Good play by Brunansky, strong hitting by Gerald Perry. He's hit the ball on the nose 3 times today.
Looking over at third base coach Adrian Garrett quickly to try to pick up a sign. He does a great job of using the whole field. The Royals acquired him from Atlanta in the offseason for that purpose. Not a power hitter, but a guy that can do what he's doing today, get on base.
Bobby Bonds has cracked the game-tying home run at Pittsburgh. They're tied in the 6th. And for the 4th time this afternoon, the Royals have their leadoff hitter on base. Here's Willie Wilson, who is 0 for 1 with a sacrifice. That's ball 1. Roger Clemens has given up 7 hits, but the Royals are still scoreless. That's a called strike.
What you'd like to do if you're Willie Wilson right here is get something that you can pull with the big hole being open between first and second. That's a little difficult to do against Roger Clemens.
Let's say something about Willie Wilson's patience or lack thereof at the plate.
Exactly. And that is what's kept him really. He's been an outstanding player, but that's what's kept him from being a great player.
There's that gap on the right side of the infield you're talking about with Quintana holding Perry on at first. There's a double play ball toward second. Over to short for 1. The relay was about to be punched out, but Quintana couldn't hold on to the throw into the dirt. It'll go as a fielder's choice.
Well, the Red Sox have escaped with a couple of mistakes. Rivera booted a ball earlier. Now, even with Wilson's speed and accurate throw here, this is a double play. And Rivera throws the ball a little bit wide and low where Quintana cannot scoop it. Of course, if you're Luis Rivera, this is what you deal with in making the double play. Gerald Perry bearing down and just aim it right for the emblem on that hat. It's up to the runner to get down and out of the way.
And chances are he will. Here's Pat Tabler. He left a couple of runners stranded in the 4th inning, looking at a called 3rd strike, and doubled in the 1st. And pops it foul. Pena doesn't have to go far at all. Out number 2. The Reebok Greg Norman Challenge comes up next here on CBS. And Yvonne Lendl, Wayne Gretzky, Larry Bird, first of a two-part golf scramble competition from the Champions Golf and Country Club in Rogers, Arkansas. You are the best one I know to explain what a scramble is.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Well, everybody's going to get to, you play the best shot. All four guys hit. You continue to keep playing the best shot of the foursome. That's a pretty heavyweight team right there.
Well, let's wait and see how they swing the golf club. Bill Pecota with 2 out now and a runner at first.
Yeah, and Wilson will try to steal in this situation. Wilson will steal at any time, but especially here, 2 outs. Tough to score off Clemens. You want to get a runner in scoring position.
Wilson with 20 stolen bases has only been caught 4 times. Willie right up there among the stolen base leaders, although Ricky Henderson has a big jump on everybody. This will be a good matchup, Willie Wilson against Tony Pena. But Wilson stays put.
And see, Bill Pecota will probably take a pitch or 2 and give Wilson that opportunity to steal.
Big swing by Pecota, 1-1.
It's another thing that Clemens has done. A lot of power pitchers have difficulty holding runners on because they have a high leg kick. And Clemens has worked hard to kind of vary the amount of time he holds the ball and to also abbreviate that leg kick, give Pena a little better chance of throwing out the runner.
That one way up high, 2-1. Pitchers have been in control today, especially with the men on base. The Royals have left 7 men on base so far in their 5 2/3 innings. Boston has left 6 runners stranded. And managers go nuts when that happens. Two and 1. 2 and 2. Now, when you're the base runner, do you do the hitter a disservice with 2 strikes running and distracting him against Roger Clemens?
No, probably the best pitch to steal on, because you're going to maybe guess breaking ball. Clemens might try to get Pecota to chase something. Going to be a little more difficult for Pena to handle the pitch. So the 2-strike pitch is often a good pitch to steal on.
Clemens up to 90 pitches. Strike 3 call. Another runner stranded. Boston still leads by 1. We'll come back to Fenway after this. We'd like you to be aware that this copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Ready for the bottom of the 6th inning. Well, we've had a little of everything here today. We've had disagreement with the umpires, interference call at second base, the long ball from one of 2 teams that you don't really expect it from, and a power outage. And we're told that there was a small explosion over on Commonwealth Avenue that blew everything out in the stadium. Billy Joe Robideau leading off the bottom of the 6th inning, strike 1. And Luis Aquino 3-0, and you can't fault the way he's pitched at all. 1 bad pitch to Kevin Romine.
He's one of these pitchers that has the knack of pitching well regardless of the amount of rest. You know, some guys, if you sit down in the bullpen for a couple weeks and you start them, it'll take them a few innings to find the plate. They're not very versatile. You're either a starter or a reliever. Aquino is a big plus for John Wathan because he can be down in the bullpen for a while. You need an emergency starter. He'll go out and do what he's doing today.
27 years old, native of Puerto Rico, has pitched a fine game. Robideau goes down swinging. Right now, let's take a moment to send you back to New York for an update. Here's Andrea Joyce. Andrea?
Greg, All-Star Barry Bonds continues his great season. Bonds led off the bottom of the 6th inning with a shot to right, his 17th on the year, and that ties it up in Pittsburgh. Now let's go back to Greg.
Thanks, Andrea. First pitch fouled back behind the plate and out of play to Mike Greenwell.
And as our colleague Tim McCarver mentioned the other night, Barry Bonds, a strong candidate for most valuable player honors in that National League at this stage of the year.
Did Timmy mention that during the backstroke or the breaststroke? Greenwell heard his share of boos again as he walked to the plate.
I see pitchers in the American League have been getting inside with that fastball on Mike Greenwell. The last couple years he was quick, he could pull it. Not so anymore.
1-1 pitch. Off the fists, back behind the plate, 1-2. Greenwell has stranded 5 runners in 2 at-bats. He left the bases loaded in the first inning and then flied out with 2 on in his second at-bat. He's 0 for 2. And Aquino has him now a ball and 2 strikes. Ground ball, fair ball past the bag at third. Down into the corner, and Greenwell around first on his way to second with a double. And listen to the cheers.
And that's almost an excuse me double. You see it just trickle past the glove of Seitzer down in the left field corner, but even though it wasn't hit well, it was a mistake on Aquino's part. Anything in the middle of the plate in, Greenwell's not handling. He leaves that out over the plate. And even though that ankle is bothering him, still a good effort in hustling into second base.
Boy, we mentioned earlier on, Jim, his lack of power, his power outage. He's had 3 home runs since August of 1989 and did not have a very good first half of the season this year, hitting under 270. Here's Tony Pena. 1 on, 1 out for the Red Sox. Ball 1.
Well, you can't find a spot in this ballpark that isn't a delightful one, and it is a ballpark. It's not a stadium. No.
Pena fouls it back. Red Sox had a terrific month of June. Terrific month of June, going 20-9, but they are 3-6 so far in July. Pena fouls it back again. And action, Jim, in the Boston bullpen.
Yeah, the high pitch count by Roger Clemens, and Joe Morgan going to get Jeff Gray, the right-hander, and Rob Murphy, the left-hander, ready. Maybe bridge this thing in the 7th and 8th inning to get to their stopper, Jeff Reardon. That would be one thing with Clemens complaining about arm fatigue, that they might cut down on his pitch count here the first couple starts after the All-Star break.
Rob Murphy, into last night's game, said he was just glad to get in and out of there on Friday the 13th. 1-2 to Pena. Back up the middle. Pacoda will make the play as Greenwell moves over to third. So that's 2 out now and a runner at third. And here's Kevin Romine, whose second home run of the season over the wall in left center back in the 2nd inning is the only run of this ball game.
And for that reason, that home run being the only run, Ray Palacios out to talk to Aquino. Here's another look at that home run. Only the 4th of his career, but you mentioned 3 of them against the Royals, and 2 of them have been game winners against the Royals.
And he got a pretty good pitch to hit on that trip to the plate, too. He's got teammate Mike Greenwell at third now with 2 out. And fouls off the first pitch for strike 1.
Palacios trotted out there, and it's one of those conversations pitchers and catchers will have. Hey, first base is open. This guy's hit a home run. Rivera's in the on-deck circle. Who would you rather go after? And you can throw the averages out the window. It's who the pitcher feels comfortable with oftentimes.
These Boston fans will be happy to see Ellis Burks take the field again tonight. Sore left hamstring has made him miss a couple of games. This one chopped out to Pacoda at second, and Aquino will escape. We've played 6. It's 1-0 Boston, and we'll return to Fenway Park after this word from your local station. Ready for the top of the 7th inning here in Boston. Red Sox leading Kansas City 1-0. We talked about those little charming aspects of Fenway Park. How about that hand-operated scoreboard out there?
Boy, what a job. Would that be a great way to see a ball game?
And, of course, nice little place to be able to watch the game from, too. Meanwhile, Clemens goes back to work on Ray Palacios, and then he has the top of the Kansas City order.
Former Commissioner Bowie Kuhn used to do that at Old Griffith Stadium in Washington, D.C., hang the numbers up on the scoreboard.
You mean what, while he was commissioner? Ball 1 to Palacios, who is 0 for 1 with a walk. And took a critical called third strike with the bases loaded to end the 4th inning. Only 4 strikeouts for Clemens, and that's below his average. But there's a Roger Clemens fastball.
There's a little high cheese, as they say in the dugouts, just in case there's any doubt about him losing his fastball in the 7th inning.
Palacios didn't catch up with that one either. It's 2-2.
You know, Bowie Kuhn did that in Griffith Stadium as a kid. We showed the manual scoreboard here. If Veck had not come in with the electronic scoreboard in Chicago, you could have done that. White Sox Park.
Back up the middle. Good play by Clemens to knock it down and throw him out at first. So Clemens helps himself out on a ball ticketed for center field, and that's out number 1. I want to remind you that coming up tomorrow here on CBS, Roger Mayweather and Terrence Ali will meet in the ring, and then James Brown with a special climb of Mount Kilimanjaro, and it all begins at 2 o'clock Eastern on CBS. 12 mentally disabled athletes making the climb with James Brown.
Now pitching coach Bill Fisher with a trip to the mound to find out whether Clemens may have injured himself on that last pitch, or adding up the number of pitches he's thrown, and said, you know, they probably had a little chat between innings and said, hey, when you start getting over a certain number, let's just monitor it hitter by hitter. Never ask a pitcher how he feels, because Roger Clemens is going to,
he'll stay out
he's
there
going to keep pitching, and that's what you want. But you ask him how he feels. If the guy says, oh, I don't feel good, I want to come out, that's not the guy you want on the mound in a 1-run game anyway.
He's up to 96 pitches right now as he holds this conversation.
The one advantage that we've talked about throughout this game that Clemens has is, even without that explosive fastball, he's a pitcher. Used that sidearm delivery against Tabler. He got Brett on a couple of fork balls.
So Clemens will now go after the leadoff hitter Kevin Seitzer. 1-0 ball game with 1 gone in the top of the 7th inning. Clemens with the minimal amount of support so far and has taken advantage of it. And Murphy continues to throw in the Red Sox bullpen.
Jim Evans measuring the back line of the batter's box. Don't blame you as a hitter. You want to get as far away from Roger Clemens as you can, get a long look at that fastball.
And Jim Evans is watching Kevin Seitzer closely. Jim's going to do it by the book today. Foul tip. Over in the Kansas City dugout, there's Big John Mayberry, the batting coach for the Royals, with whom you have a very special relationship.
Well, I told John, one of the first times we met was out at the mound, but not under pleasant circumstances. He took a swing at Stan Bonson, and my bridge got in the way with 3 or 4 cracked teeth.
Seitzer goes around and misses.
He was a part of that Royals team, Greg, when they had Hal McRae and Brett Otis and Al Collins, Darrell Porter, some great teams in the late 70s.
I mentioned that to John down in the batting cage before the game, and he immediately started apologizing to you.
I didn't mean to hit you.
I didn't mean that. There's Clemens, and Clemens again leans toward third base and tries a little bit of the crossfire, and he misses outside. Ball and 2 strikes. The Royals try to get something going against Clemens. Strike 3 call. That's 5 strikeouts for Clemens this afternoon.
Look at Pena's target, and look where the pitch ends up. In that squat position, knee-high outside corner, and Clemens puts it right there. The pitchers love to pitch to Tony Pena because he gives you that nice low target, very quiet. Of course, he won't sit like that with men on base.
Tony Pena has a ball back there, doesn't he? 2 down, no one on, and here's Kurt Stillwell. And with his 5th strikeout, Clemens now needs 2 to break Cy Young's all-time strikeout record for the Red Sox. Hit in the air in left field. Greenwell should make the play, and does. The Royals up and down in order in the top of the 7th. It's still 1-0 Red Sox. Back at Fenway Park, as you look at the field from right field, there you see down the right field line some numbers that belong to some very special people.
Well, there's the thumper, Ted Williams. Who do you think that second guy is? You got to go back a little farther. Joe Cronin. And then one of the underpublicized all-time greats for the Red Sox at second base, Bobby Doerr. And of course the most recent one, Carl Yastrzemski. And maybe they'll add 1 or 2. Jim Rice would be a possible. And how about this guy, Dwight Evans? He's sneaking up the rankings. That's the all-time Red Sox rankings.
Sitting out this first game, and we will play in the game tonight. And but what a great contributor he's been over the years.
He is right now the active home run leader in the major leagues, 376.
Meanwhile, Luis Rivera leading off the bottom of the 7th inning for the Red Sox, and unfortunately, foul ball. Unfortunately, we had some commercial time there, or might have been able to hear Jim Kotz sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Waving the microphone out.
Rivera at 0 for 2. Popped it up right side. Pacoda out. Eisenreich in, and Pacoda made the catch.
You see everyone with sunglasses on. Today is the kind of day the players refer to as a high sky. Ideal conditions is slightly overcast, and you look up into that sky, and it's so difficult even with the glasses on to pick up the baseball. Eisenreich there just in case. You know, if possible, the outfielder would call the infielder off that ball. It's easier play for him to make. Pacoda had that one under control, and that's what they're peeking up into.
Here's Wade Boggs, 1 for 3. With a single in his first at bat, and then a couple of flyouts to Willie Wilson in center. And Aquino misses outside, and it's 2-0. There's a base hit into right field. But Boggs is 2 for 4. So the Red Sox with a runner aboard and 1 out. And here's Jody Reed, who has been a real thorn in Aquino's side today as he stands in at 2 for 3. Padres and Pirates still tied at 4. They've gone to the 8th inning. White Sox leading the New York Yankees at Yankee Stadium in the 2nd.
Well, those White Sox keep getting that solid pitching.
You know, if you do, everything else falls into place, doesn't it? Into the dirt. Palacio smothers it. Keeps it in front of him. Ball 1. Reed beat out a slow roller up the third baseline in his first at bat. Then after grounding out, he doubled to right center.
Another one of those ideal hit and run situations right here. Mentioned the Red Sox with only 22 stolen bases, but they will use the hit and run with Reed and Boggs.
Inside, and it's 2-0. And the Kansas City bullpen is busy.
Right-hander Jay Ballard on the right of your screen, the right-hander, and then Mark Davis. Boy, what a troublesome year for last year's National League Cy Young Award winner.
.20 pitch to Reed, called strike 2-1. I wanted to ask you about Mark Davis and his troubles. You think part of it is just changing of the leagues and new hitters?
I don't think as much. If anything, a pitcher should have the advantage. I think it starts with the added pressure of the contract, and then it carries over into pure pitching. He has not had command of his pitches.
John Watson says he just can't throw strikes.
Can't get his breaking ball over, and I don't care how hard you throw. If you don't do that, you're going to get hit.
Reed fouls it back, and the count is even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Mentioned the injuries to the Royals bullpen. Steve Crawford bothered by a bad back. Andy McGaffigan out with an elbow injury. As a result, Jay Ballard, who was just called up from Omaha, getting an opportunity along with Mark Davis. Davis has even been used as a starter the last couple weeks to try to get him in the right groove.
And I remember his first one didn't last very long at all. And of course, it has sparked many a trade rumor. Of course, the plight of the Royals this year has sparked many a trade rumor. 2-2 pitch. Reed fouls it at the plate.
Well, you laugh when these weird sayings that happen around the game of baseball, like 90% of this game is half mental. But when you look at a guy like Mark Davis, you understand that it is the mental part of it that's so important to a player.
There's Mark Davis. And he, of course, has been rumored perhaps to be headed back to San Diego. This is the time now after the All-Star break. Teams are looking ahead to postseason play. Red Sox looking for another starting pitcher. Said to be interested in Jack Morris, perhaps from Detroit, or Mike Scott from Houston. Reed up the middle, into center field, base hit. Boggs makes the turn and holds as Wilson cocks his arm and then brings it back in.
Now, Joe Morgan didn't use the running game. He let Boggs stay right there at first base. But Reed, with his third hit right up the middle, Aquino decides not to reach for it with the bare hand, and just out of Stillwell's reach. And now with Quintana hitting in the third spot, another ideal situation for the Red Sox. If Morgan wants to, he could either hit and run with men on first and second. Quintana can make contact, and look at the way they play him in the outfield. He can hit the ball toward the right side.
Quintana 0 for 1. Incidentally, Quintana has been charged with an error on a drop throw back in the 6th inning. There was a force at second, and then he was ruled safe at first, and he has been now charged with an error. Second Boston error of the day. Meanwhile, Boggs at second, Reed at first. 1 out. And Quintana fouls it back. The boos are for the errors on the fans, and there was no reason to have let that ball get away.
Nobody escapes the wrath of these fans, I'll tell you. They pay attention.
That's outside, 1-1. At 119 pitches now, Louis Aquino may be getting a little tired.
You know, and it's even a little bit deeper than that. The pitcher in that high pitch count may have a little fatigue, but the hitters have had a look at him. They've seen everything he has to offer.
That's ball 2. There are no surprises come the 7th inning.
That's oftentimes, as soon as a pitcher gets hit late in the game, the logical thing is, well, the pitcher's getting tired. That's partially true, but you're Carlos Quintana. You've now seen about 20 pitches from Luis Aquino. Your percentages of timing him go up.
Two 1 pitch. Good pitch. 2-2. Boy, Aquino really kicked and cut loose with that fastball.
It's got that real slow, almost puts you to sleep with that delivery. And then the sneaky fastball.
We passed by Louis in the clubhouse, and he was doing his stretching on the clubhouse floor. Boggs at second, Reed at first. 2-2 pitch to Quintana. Hit to left field. Tabler makes the catch. And as many pitches as Quintana has seen, looks like he got a little bit fooled and got that one on the end of the bat.
Well, he's a right center field hitter. And Aquino took just enough off. Let's see how far out in front he had him. That's pitching. Destroy the hitter's timing. Aquino did that. Had Quintana out in front. All he could do is kind of lunge at the ball and hit a soft fly to left field.
And with 2 on and 2 out now, here's Tom Brunansky, who has a walk, a strikeout, and a double play ball in 3 trips to the plate, and it's strike 1. Runner out at second base is Wade Boggs. Jody Reed is at first. There are 2 out here in the bottom of the 7th inning. Boston clinging to a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, and here's the biggest at bat for Luis Aquino. You got Billy Joe Robideau in the on deck circle. Here's the guy that can break it open with a home run. Good low ball hitter. So even though third base is the open base, you want to be a little careful pitching to Brunansky.
One and 2. Well, I may have to apologize to Mr. Aquino because he still has plenty of arm strength left.
See, he loves the ball down below the waist. That ball upstairs, he couldn't quite catch up with it.
Aquino now up to about 125 pitches or so, and he's still throwing hard. 1-2 pitch. Fastball up high, 2-2. Side, and that'll reach the seats easily.
No, when you're on the mound and there are men on second and third and first base is open, you automatically, the thought goes through your mind, well, I can pitch carefully because if I walk them, we got a force play at every base, and you got a weaker hitter in the on deck circle. When it's third base, it's open, you kind of have to check yourself, or a catcher like Palacios might run out there and tell you, hey, we got an open base, be careful.
Again, the 2-2 pitch. Up high, ball 3. So now with this pitch, Boggs will be on the move from second and Reed from first. 3-2 pitch. Runners go up the middle. Base hit. No. Pacona flags it down. His throw. Safe at first, and the bases are loaded. Well, I called it far too soon, but the mound really slowed that one down.
Yeah, the mound can be your friend than it is for Luis Aquino right here. Watch this ball. This ball is ripped, but it glances off the pitching rubber, slows down enough for Pacona to get to it. He makes a good play, and even though Brunansky not blessed with great speed, it slowed that ball down just enough. In fact, Aquino, I think, made a skate save on that one.
Exactly, and they're out to take a look at him now on the mound.
Well, it looked like it might have caught. It looked like it hit the pitching rubber, but as you can see there, they're testing Luis Aquino's ankle, and it might have caught a piece of his ankle. John Watson probably saying, look, we've got somebody ready. Toss a couple, see how it is. Jay Baller and Mark Davis both ready in the Kansas City bullpen.
And Aquino will stay. Or at least John Wathan's going to watch him throw a couple. Let's take a look again. Aquino says he's okay.
Right there. Looks like a disc caught the bottom of his right. You see the spike. It had caught a piece of his ankle. Probably one of those where his left ankle, probably one of those where it just kind of stings for a moment. It numbs it. And then after he threw a couple pitches, the circulation is back. Everything's okay.
So with the bases loaded, Billy Joe Robideau 0 for 1 with a walk. He was hit by a pitch. He's got a strikeout, and he looks at ball one up high. Kansas City pitchers holding the opponents to just a 130 batting average with the bases full. Robideau trying to do something about that. Strike call. That's Boggs at third. Reed leading off of second. Inside.
Last couple pitches by Aquino looked a little tentative. The first fastball was high, and then he caught the outside corner, but even that one not have the same zip that he's had the first 6 innings.
2-1 pitch. Pop foul back at the plate and out of play. So the count is even now at 2-2 with 2 outs and the bases loaded. And it's just possible that even if Aquino should escape this trouble here, he may be seeing his last batter. With Baller and Mark Davis ready in the bullpen. 2-2.
Be a kick for Billy Joe Robideau. He's from a Massachusetts native, Ware, Massachusetts, coming back to play in his home state. Came up originally with the Milwaukee Brewers.
Another 2-2 pitch to Robideau. Missed inside. And now all the runners will be on the move. Wade Boggs at third. Jody Reed is out at second. And Tom Brunansky takes his lead off at first. He'll be off with the pitch. Struck him out. 10 men left on base this afternoon for the Red Sox. They still lead 1-0.
Against Ryan Sandberg and the Cubs, or see hot-hitting Lenny Dykstra lead the Phillies against the first-place Reds next Saturday on CBS.
Seven innings complete. Boston leads it by a score of 1-0. Luis Aquino escaped that jam and congratulated by pitching coach Frank Funk and his catcher Ray Palacios, and accepting well-deserved congratulations in the dugout. Meanwhile, Rob Murphy.
See a little bit of Al Raboski, and then everybody has little idiosyncrasies. You'll see him survey the batter's area, tap that rosin bag. Not that left-handers are peculiar.
Oh, no. Kind of a left-handed Mark Fidrich.
Yes. Talks to the ball. Most pitchers do. He's leading the American League in appearances, and that's been his strong suit over the years. Very durable. Good live fastball, but many feel the number of games he's appeared in has taken some of the life out of that fastball.
He'll look at the 3, 4, and 5 hitters for the Kansas City Royals here in the top of the 8th inning, and George Brett looks at strike one. Brett stands in at 1 for 3. Swing and a miss, and it's 0-2. Jeff Reardon in the Boston bullpen.
And Murphy's job, of course, facing 3 left-hand hitters this inning to get the game to that man, Jeff Reardon. More saves than any man in the major leagues active today.
0-2 pitches outside, 1-2. Meanwhile, job well done by Roger Clemens. He pitched 7 full innings, struck out 5 and walked 2, and gave up 7 hits, but no runs. Ground ball back up the middle. Diving attempt by Jody Reed doesn't work, and George Brett is on with a base hit. And right now, let's take a moment to send you back to New York and Andrea Joyce.
Greg, it may be a little unusual, but we've seen it twice today. A strikeout wild pitch scoring a run. This one from Tim Leary on a Sammy Sosa strikeout. Ron Karkovic scores. Leary's out of the game, and Chicago leads New York by 5 in the second. Let's go back to Greg.
All right, Andrea, here it's 1-0 Boston in the top of the 8th inning. And once again, the Royals with their leadoff man off on base in an inning. And Jim Eisenreich swinging and fouling it back.
And here's a guy that, even though Murphy's brought in to face left-hand hitters, you look over the past couple years, nobody has hit left-handers better than Jim Eisenreich. He's about a .340 hitter against left-hand pitching.
Eisenreich has 1 of the 8 hits today for the Royals. It's outside, a ball and a strike. A couple of the Boston Red Sox pitchers were saying this guy has to be one of the most underrated players around. He hits well, he fields his position well, he runs the bases well.
And was the Royals' most valuable player last year.
Mentioned the Royals with their leadoff man on. Of the 8 innings played so far today, the Royals have gotten the leadoff man on 5 times, yet they remain scoreless. Inside, 2-1. You know, when you think of the kind of year that Bo Jackson had, improvement that he made, foul ball. That's a pretty good accomplishment by Eisenreich.
Yeah, I think even with players like Brett, Bo Jackson, Danny Tartabull, you have a tendency to look at the home runs and the batting average. But here's a guy who is an outstanding center fielder. He's a complete player.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Lifted foul down the left field line. Red Sox have Mike Greenwell in left, Kevin Romine in center, Tom Brudansky in right, third to first, Wade Boggs, Luis Rivera, Jody Reed, and Carlos Quintana, with a battery of Tony Pena behind the plate, and now Rob Murphy on the mound.
Murphy has a rather unusual setup from a set position. He'll keep the hands rather high, and if you look at his left elbow, it's pointed now down toward the ground. It's amazing how sometimes playing around with your teammates you can pick up a little tip that will help you. Dennis Lamp helped Rob Murphy. See the left elbow. Now Lamp is a right-hand reliever that's an impersonator, and he's standing in the outfield saying, hey, he's imitating Rob Murphy with his elbows straight out, and Murph says that's not the way I'm supposed to pitch, and as a result he looked at some videotape and got his motion straightened out.
Well, those White Sox running wild at Yankee Stadium, and Eisenreich did go around. Murphy came high and tight. Eisenreich couldn't hold up, and that's 1 out. Well, the scoring today can be wrapped up very easily. Kevin Romine with his 2nd home run of the season, back in the 2nd inning to give the Red Sox the only run of the game. And men left on base has been the big story here. Boston has left 10 on, Kansas City 8, and of course an extraordinary performance by Roger Clemens this afternoon. Speaking of a guy who's had a good bat, how about Gerald Perry today? 3 for 3, and rips that one foul, strike 1. I don't know, Jim, you always reprimand me when I start to talk about those weird left-handers, but then you always come up with some wacky story about one.
They've had a couple of dandies right here at Fenway Park. Bill Lee, Mickey McDermott.
Pena with a nice stop, 1-1.
One of the reasons Gerald Perry probably left in here a hit against Rob Murphy. Bo Jackson is not here. Danny Tartabull is hurt. The only right-hand bats that John Wathen has, Frank White and Mike McFarland, but he knows if he makes that move, Joe Morgan's going to the bullpen and bring in his ace, Jeff Reardon.
1-1. Down the left field line, foul, 1-2. What an absolutely perfect day this has been here at Fenway Park. One and two to Perry. 2-2.
Well, not a bad pitch to gamble on if you're John Wathen. Perry's made good contact all day. The one thing you want to do is stay out of the double play. And you can start George Brett right here and give Perry a chance to get one through the infield.
Brett stays. Perry fouls it. Of course, I suppose you have to be careful as a manager. Now, earlier, John Wathen had runners going and ran himself practically out of just about did run himself out of an inning. You don't want to get too reticent and get out of the things you want to do just because you had a bad experience.
Yeah, you try not to let the good or the bad experiences affect what you do the next time. But I think most managers will say what works today might not work tomorrow. It's kind of a crapshoot a lot of times, a hit and run, and when you steal and when you don't.
Ground ball, base hit. Gerald Perry with the first 4-hit game of the season for him. Gerald Perry 4 for 4. And that may be it for Rob Murphy.
I mentioned Mike Greenwell's hearing a few boos. Rob Murphy in that same category. He's not performed well lately. And Morgan hopped out of that dugout in a hurry as soon as that ball went through the infield.
And he has made the call to the bullpen. Distressing to a manager when you bring a guy on to face the lefties and two out of the 3 rip the ball for base hits.
That's exactly why he was acquired, is to get left-hand hitters out.
Jeff Reardon coming on. Rob Murphy will depart. We'll take a timeout and come back after this. Oh, Rob Murphy just pitched 1/3 of an inning, struck out 1, but gave up 2 hits, and he's on the bench now in favor of Jeff Reardon, who has come on. And Reardon having a pretty good season for the Red Sox with 14 saves, a record of 3-2, and a 3.20 earned run average. And look at the good relievers around the league. Bobby Thigpen has been the one to crash that group in the last year and a half.
And eventually all 4 of those guys hope they get to the plateau that Jeff Reardon is at in his career. There are only 3 pitchers in Major League history that have more saves than Jeff Reardon. Rollie Fingers, Goose Gossage, and Bruce Sutter. Reardon now 4th in the all-time list. He has 280.
Willie Wilson stands in, ready to do some damage for the Royals, and takes ball 1.
I think that tells you how frustrating times have been for Rob Murphy and Joe Morgan, because you would like to leave Murphy in and have Wilson hit right-handed.
Wilson 0 for 2 with a sacrifice and fouls it out of play, and it's a ball and a strike. Runner out at second base is George Brett. He led off this 8th inning with a single. 1 out later, Gerald Perry singled in the second. Perry 4 for 4 this afternoon. Wilson fouls that one off, and it's 1-2. And with runners in scoring position today at the plate, the Royals have gone 0 for 6.
Yeah, both teams have had their share of base runners, but they can't get that one big hit to break it open.
Reardon set for 1-2 pitch. Ground ball toward right field, base hit. Brett around third. Throw to the plate is not in time, and we have a tie game. So Willie Wilson, only in the lineup due to the absence of Bo Jackson, delivers with man in scoring position here in the 8th inning.
And that's why you like to have Wilson up there hitting right-handed. You know, left-handed, he's a better hitter, and he has the ability to pull the ball. You see Pena sitting on the outside edge. Reardon leaves that ball on the inside part of the plate. And with Quintana playing near the line, pulls it into right field to tie the game.
On the play, Perry went from first to third.
Now Joe Morgan's going to bring that infield in a double play situation here, and Tabler at the plate. Of course, that increases his percentages of getting the ball through the infield. And you have a conference on the mound and say, what are we going to do if Willie Wilson tries to steal second base, which is a better than 50-50 possibility.
I want to remind you that coming up next on CBS, the Reebok Norman Challenge. Golfer Greg Norman taking on Wayne Gretzky, Larry Bird, Yvonne Lendl in the first of a two-part golf scramble competition from the Champions Golf and Country Club in Rogers, Arkansas. That's next on CBS. Meanwhile, down the drain goes an outstanding performance by Roger Clemens, who cannot win this game. And here's Pat Tabler with runners at the corners. Wilson stays put. Tabler takes a strike.
Yeah, in that little conference, you could see Pena looking into the dugout, moving his hands. What do you want me to do? You know, if Wilson tries to steal, there's about 3 options. You could bluff the throw to second and try to catch the runner off third base, Gerald Perry, or you can gun it down to Jody Reed and hope to get Perry in a rundown.
Shortstop and second baseman both playing pretty close to the bag at second. That's high and away, 1-1.
And then the other option is, and you practice these things in spring training, you throw the ball right back to the pitcher, and it's all designed to try to get Perry to commit a mistake at third base and trap him off the bag.
Perry is at third, Willie Wilson at first. Check swing, Tabler didn't mean. 1-2. A base hit off of Jeff Reardon here would be a first for Pat Tabler. Tap right back to Reardon, and Perry is caught in the rundown. And running him back, he is out. The runner advances to third, and Tony Pena was knocked over. And now the runner is going to be sent back to second.
Talk about a
watch John Watson.
Talk about a golf scramble with Greg Norman. Here's a baseball scramble. I mean, Pena had 2 runners caught off base. The Red Sox could have been out of the inning.
I'm not sure I understand the sending of the runner back to second.
Well, Pena, when he made the tag, dropped the ball, and that put a little heat on the umpire. Reardon does the right thing. You run the runner back toward third base, which is what Pena's doing. And now watch him. He's going to touch Perry, but drop the ball. And then Perry pushes him over, and that's where the umpire Dale Ford came into the picture and said, that's interference. Perry is out. Wilson will go back to second base. And now, right there, little pass protection block.
And now Joe Morgan is out and wants some clarification from the home plate umpire.
And Jim Evans is explaining it.
Well, now that the dust is cleared, Willie Wilson is at second, and Pat Tabler is at first. And here's Bill Pecota. Pecota 0 for 2, looks at ball 1.
Remember earlier in the game, mentioned how important it is to get a big lead off second base. Even with Willie Wilson's speed right now, you try to get an extra step so you can score on a base hit.
That's a strike.
See, Romine in center field is playing fairly shallow, and of course the left fielder Greenwell, you always have a good shot at throwing out the runner, and Bernansky has come in and right. So to score from second, you need a good jump.
Outside, and it's 2-1. And what a gap that leaves in left center field for Bill Pecota.
Well, you make a decision as a manager here. You want to guard against the extra base hit or bring him in and try to throw the runner out at home in a 1-1 ball game.
Here's a line drive, fair ball down the third base line. Wilson will score from second, and the runners will hold at first and second. The Royals lead. Big hit by that man, Bill Pecota.
Well, nothing went right the first half, and now things starting to change. Bill Pecota, utility player, gets in the game off one of the premier relievers, and look at that wall at Fenway Park. Another example of the little nooks and crannies that come into play. Mike Greenwell has to wait and see where the ball is going to hit. It caroms out into left field, and Rivera has to shag it down.
So here's Ray Palacios. He takes ball one.
John Wathen's probably saying before the All-Star break that would have been either foul or right at Wade Boggs. Now things are changing a little.
1-0 breaking ball makes it 1-1. That's the first time all year Bill Pecota has delivered an RBI that put his team on top. Fastball misses, 2-1.
Frank White will probably play tonight's game, and then the Royals have a fine young second baseman that's injured right now, Terry Shumpert, who when Frank White decides to hang him up will probably be the Royals second baseman.
There's Frank White, number 20 in the dugout. 2-1 pitch misses, and it's ball 3. Out at second base is Pat Tabler, and over at first is Bill Pecota, who delivered a big 2-out hit. Here's the 3-1. Back 3-2. The Boston Red Sox have seen a 4-game lead over Toronto disappear in 12 days. There's a fly ball down the left field line, and it will drift foul.
You know, so many memories race through your mind. As soon as you see a fly ball head toward that corner, you think, well, Carlton Fisk, Bucky Dent. Great dramatic home runs have been hit down in that area.
Jim Cott and his towel waving friends.
Well, you don't need it with 2 out, but that's the key. An ideal ball with 1 out, where you wave that towel if you know it's going to hit the wall. Runners can start going.
Royals have tagged 2 Boston relievers for 2 runs and 4 hits. Runners go, strike 3. So the Royals shut down all day long, score 2 to take the lead. We'll be back in a moment. Along with Jim Cott, Greg Gumbel back at Fenway Park in Boston. The Royals on top now as we go to the bottom of the 8th, 2-1. And of course, Kansas City trying to lift themselves up by the bootstraps the second half of this season and try to overtake the leaders. Oakland on top of the Chicago White Sox by a game, and then it's a big drop to Seattle. And speaking of the White Sox, how about no-hitter number 7 of the season from Melito Perez?
Another example of how the Kansas City Royals have developed so many great pitchers. Sometimes you forget about where these guys started. Melito Perez, David Cone, all products of that Kansas City organization.
And we saw Julio Franco's MVP performance in the All-Star game on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and the Rangers are starting to roll. They're a team that every year never reaches expectations. They've got a lot of great individual players, and Franco's one of them.
Meanwhile, John Wathen has gone to the bullpen for Jeff Montgomery, who saved the game last night against the Red Sox, and he comes on to try to nail down the Red Sox over the last 2 innings.
Yeah, and talk about the pitchers the Royals have developed, and here's one they just kind of found. They went to the Cincinnati organization in a trade for outfielder Van Snyder, came up with Jeff Montgomery as a middleman. He's become their stopper.
Meanwhile, outstanding job turned in by Luis Aquino, who went 7 innings on a yield of 8 hits. He struck out 5 and walked 4, hit a batter, gave up 1 run, and that was the home run by Kevin Romine, and that was it. There's Mike Greenwell. 0-1, pops it up left side, and it'll reach the seats.
You saw that shot there of his heel off the ground and the weight up on the toe. Actually, a lot of hitters do that to try to get the weight on their backside. We talked about George Brett and Wade Boggs doing that. You get the weight up on the toe, and you kind of settle against that back leg. I'm surprised here the Royals are playing him just a touch to pull. Seitzer runs out of room there because he's having trouble getting around on the fastball. and yet the Royals have him shaded over into right center field.
The Seitzer wanted that one, didn't he? It's all over in Pittsburgh, where the Pirates have won 8-4. And Greenwell dribbles that one up the first base line, and it's still 0-2. I want to know if you knew all this about hitters when you were active, or if is this all newly acquired?
Hey, when you're a pitcher and you pitch every 4 or 5 days, the one thing you do is you watch hitters from the bench and you watch where they hit the ball, where they foul it off. Are they ahead of it? Are they behind it? You know, where a hitter fouls the ball off probably tells you as much about your swing, his swing, as anything. And it's all relative to who's pitching.
Ball and 2 strikes to Greenwell. Bounced out towards second. Pacoda makes the play at first. And Greenwell, of course, hears the boos once again. I want to remind you, at the conclusion of today's game, Jim and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 on the player's behalf to the Special Olympics. One out now, and Tony Pena steps to the plate. Talking about the Red Sox inability to come up with a big hit when they need it. Last night's game and this afternoon so far, they have left 22 men on base. Pena still looking for his first hit of the day. That's a strike.
That's where you can throw those team batting averages and all. You know, you can get enough stats about this game and hitting with men on base, etc. You can get enough numbers to give Bill James a headache. But you can throw those team batting averages. It's getting that key hit like Pacoda and Gerald Perry did, and getting a good effort from your starting pitcher like Luis Aquino.
Montgomery delivers outside, and it's 1-2.
You know, here's a team like the Red Sox who are up there near the top, leading the American League in hitting, yet the Royals have scored more runs than they have.
Got him swinging. First strikeout for Montgomery. Out number 2 here in the bottom of the 8th inning, and here is Kevin Romine, responsible for the only run of the game for the Red Sox so far with his home run back in the 2nd inning. Since then he has grounded out and struck out. And Ellis Burks has grabbed a bat from the rack and come out on deck.
I'm always disappointed when I come to see Boston play and he's not in the lineup. You know how there's some guys that just get your attention. I love to watch Ellis Burks play baseball.
Jeff Montgomery would do himself a big favor by eliminating Romine here and not bringing Ellis Burks to bat with someone on base. He's at the All-Star game in Chicago Tuesday night. Did not see any action. In fact, it was even questionable if he would go because of the slightly pulled hamstring, but he was there. Said it was fun, as it was. That's outside. And by the way, the next time you tell me that left-handers are not just a little bit abnormal, I'm going to walk Randy Myers over to you, okay?
He's a lefty. Yeah.
He sure is. 1-2 with 2 out.
Well, you can see the pace quicken here between Palacios and Montgomery. See, Luis Aquino was a very deliberate worker. Now Montgomery comes in the game, and as soon as Palacios catches the ball, bingo, right back out to the mound. He works with a much faster tempo and loves to stick it on that outside corner.
1-2. Missed the outside corner that time, and it's 2-2. Just missed it, and it's a full count. 12 days ago, Mike Boddicker won a start for the Red Sox. That's the last time a Boston starter won a ball game.
Little decision to make right here for Jeff Montgomery. With the 3-2 pitch and Burks in the on-deck circle. Slider or fastball.
Romine protecting the plate. Looked like it might have been a slider.
Yeah, you see a very defensive swing. As Montgomery, you probably, even though Romine has a home run today, you probably want to challenge Romine and not walk him as opposed to facing Ellis Burks.
Full count pitch with 2 out. And Romine hangs tough.
Well, you mentioned that Boston starters not getting production there. I think games like today and the spell that the Red Sox are in are going to keep Lou Gorman near that telephone to make that deal and get another quality starter here.
Misses outside, ball 4. And here's Ellis Burks batting for Luis Rivera. Burks a .302 hitter with 10 home runs, 44 runs batted in. And listen to the reception he gets.
These people in Fenway have been waiting for a little something here to get pumped up about, and Burks is the guy to do it.
He can turn it around on a relief pitcher if he's not careful. Strike call.
He's one of those players when healthy every year. Should be at least a 20 home run, 25-30 stolen bases, 100 runs scored.
He has missed Boston's last 4 games. The appeal at first does not fly, and it's 1-1. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning. Kansas City with 2 in the top of this inning to take the lead 2-1. Red Sox with Kevin Romine at first and 2 out. And Ellis Burks looks at strike 2.
So here's an example of pitching outside in Fenway Park. Burks is standing in the batter's box right now saying, if I get something from the middle in, I'm going to be ready and jerk it. The Royals are playing him slightly to pull. The opposite of that is Montgomery saying, I want to keep it on the outside edge.
1-2 pitch. Lifted into short right field. Eisenreich is there, and that'll do it for the Red Sox, who leave another base runner. We've played 8. It's the Royals 2 and Boston 1.
Back go to the top of the 9th with that 1-run lead, and with Ellis Burks pinch hitting, Joe Morgan has to make a couple changes. Jody Reed will move over to shortstop, and then Marty Barrett, who had that position when the season started most of the last few years, will play second, and Jeff Gray will come on to do the pitching in relief of Jeff Reardon.
And we'll go to the top of the order for Kansas City as you look at Jeff Gray's numbers. And for Jeff Reardon, 2/3 of an inning. Gave up 2 hits, and each one of them drove home a run. And he recorded 1 strikeout. Kevin Seitzer 0 for 3 today. Should things continue as they are, Luis Aquino will get the victory. This one hit into right field. And Brunansky on his way back, fighting the sun, makes the catch. Nice play by Bruno.
And an example of how you can get by with a mistake if you make the hitter hit it the other way at Fenway Park. That ball in a lot of ballparks is up against the wall right near the warning track out there in deep right field.
Boy, it gets deep out in right field here in a hurry. Gray delivers to Kurt Stillwell outside. Stillwell 1 for 4 with a single and 3 fly balls. There you see, you look straight away, right field is 380. There's a liner over Boggs down the left field line. Base hit. Stillwell makes the turn and holds as Greenwell gets it back into the infield. So Stillwell with his second hit of the day. He's on first. And here's George Brett.
There's a guy, Jeff Gray, who was in the Cincinnati organization, didn't make it to the big leagues. Phillies gave him a try. They released him. Now he goes to Pawtucket, the Red Sox AAA club. Pretty good forkball. Pitches well down there. Gets back to the big leagues. Got a win and 2 saves for him.
George Brett with a single and a double. And a called strike.
Tom Bolton, lefty, up in the Red Sox bullpen with a couple left-hand hitters coming up. Now here, if you want to steal a base and you're Kurt Stillwell, Gray has a very deliberate slow kick to home plate. You can get a big jump.
That's outside, and the count is even to George Brett at 1-1. Pirates beat the Padres earlier today, and they're on a roll. White Sox leading the Yankees. Oakland on top of the Milwaukee Brewers in the second inning. Jose Canseco getting in the groove, and the Dodgers over the Cubs in the second at Wrigley Field. Sure, now it's dry there.
Finally. Looks like Jeff Gray, like a lot of pitchers, has worked to improve his motion from the set position by abbreviating that leg kick and giving Pena a little chance to throw out a runner.
A lot of pitchers, when they go to the stretch, go to that slide step.
Yep.
Ball and a strike with 1 out. Back to the mound. Gray to Reed for 1 to first, double play, and that'll do it for the Royals here in the 9th inning. We'll go to the bottom of the 9th. Boston has 3 chances to get back into it. It's 2-1 Royals. Along with Jim Cott, Greg Gumbel back at Fenway Park in Boston. The Royals hoping to hold on and take the second of the 2 played so far here in Boston. A couple of changes. Jim Eisenreich moves to left field from right, and over in right field, Steve Jeltz has gone in for defensive purposes, and Pat Tabler is out of the game.
Boy, that could be a key replacement. Steve Jeltz, he's normally an infielder. Those that joined us late, Bo Jackson missing because of the death of his mother-in-law. Danny Tartable out with an injury.
And here's Wade Boggs, and Boggs looks at strike 1.
And John Wathen is strapped for an extra outfielder, so Jeltz has got to play the tough Sunfield here in a 1-run ball game.
That's outside. Look at where Kevin Seitzer is playing Wade Boggs.
The dreaded guard the line. Of course, against Boggs, it makes sense because he can shoot one down there.
That misses, and it's 2-1. Boggs and Jody Reed, who will follow him, have combined for 5 of the 8 Boston hits today. Boggs has 2. Count is even now at 2-2. And as you mentioned last inning, Jim, Montgomery gets that ball right back and goes back to work.
Boy, look at all the ground Willie Wilson has to cover out in center field. What a gap they leave Wade Boggs.
2-2 pitch, foul back.
Yeah, every pitcher has, you know, sometimes it goes with the pitcher's personality. You get kind of a laid back, quiet guy. He tends to be a slower worker. Hyper guys, a little quicker on the mound.
This is a big out for Jeff Montgomery here. This could set the tone for the inning.
Well, as long as baseball's been played, managers talk about it. It's a game of firsts. First strike, first out, first run. And when you can keep this guy off the base and get that first out, that's about 75% of winning this game with a 1-run lead in the 9th inning.
Remember, these 2 teams will hang out here at the ballpark for about 3 hours and then play game 2 of this day-night doubleheader later on. Outside. And Boggs runs the count full at 3-2. With no one warming in the Royals bullpen, John Watson is saying Jeff Montgomery is my man. Full count pitch. Hit in the air in left field. Eisenreich back to the wall and makes the catch. Ah, the fun of playing in Fenway.
Oh, man. See, when you're a pitcher doing batting practice, this is what you like to do. See, he takes a quick glance to see where he is. I've got enough room to get to the padding and then make the jump. And just enough room to make that catch and keep Wade Boggs from hitting another double.
And on the surface, you credit John Watson for that switch around for the bottom of the 9th inning. Here's Jody Reed, who has 3 hits in 4 trips to the plate. Ball 1. Reed lays off of that one inside, and it's 2-0.
Mentioned that game tonight when Ernie said let's play 2. I don't think he had that in mind, a 3-hour break for dinner before they come back here at 7 o'clock to play tonight.
I think Ernie means let's play 2 both at the same time right now. Foul back, 2-1. We never discussed this. If a ball would come back here, are you?
I got it.
Okay.
Yep, I got you covered.
Okay.
Well, see, the booth here in Fenway is high enough now that by the time it gets this high, it's not going to have much sting left to it.
Wasn't always that way.
No. That's the new modern facility. Over the last couple of years, they've added some sky boxes, put the press box a little bit higher.
Ball and a strike to Jody Reed. Check swing, 1-2. Public address announcer here, Sherm Feller, telling us during a Yankee game, Thurman Munson fouled one back, got him right in the nose, broke his nose, lost a couple of teeth. There's Sherm.
Another Fenway Park institution.
He'll attest to the fact it's a tough game.
Yeah.
A ball and 2 strikes to Jody Reed. Make it 2-2. Foul back, and it's still 2-2. Montgomery versus Reed. Got him swinging. I want to let you know that coming up tonight here on CBS, Paradise, followed by Beauty and the Beast, and then Tour of Duty coming up for your Saturday evening viewing pleasure on CBS. And the Red Sox are down to their last out. Carlos Quintana. And of course, should they lose this game and Toronto comes up with a victory, the Blue Jays leapfrog into first place.
Yeah, the Red Sox made hay off the Eastern Division in June. They won 20 games, but now since playing Minnesota, Kansas City, and Texas, they are well below. That says something about the strength of the West versus the strength of the East.
Montgomery trying to nail it down. Misses the outside corner, and it's a ball and a strike.
Every pitcher has a specialty pitch, and watch Montgomery just going slider to that outside edge.
Strike 2. John Watson is hoping to get off to a better start in the second half of the season than he did the first half, and he'll welcome two straight victories here at Fenway Park. 1-2 pitch.
Even had the umpire flinching on that one, Jim Evans, like he wanted to raise that right arm. Yeah, with all the late inning heroics here, you know, and you mentioned it earlier, the job that might go unnoticed in a game like this is the one by Luis Aquino. That's the guy that sets the tone, that man on the mound.
2-2 pitch. Grounded towards short. Stillwell on to first, and the Royals win it. Luis Aquino with a strong starting job. Jeff Montgomery came on and did what he's supposed to out of the bullpen, and the Royals have taken 2 straight from the Boston Red Sox. Today's final, Kansas City 2 and the Red Sox 1. And we'll take time out and come back and wrap things up from Fenway Park in just a moment. Well, Roger Clemens was outstanding for 7 innings, but the bullpen couldn't hold the Royals in the 8th inning when Willie Wilson and Bill Pecota delivered RBI singles. Red Sox bullpen lost it. Kansas City wins it. Luis Aquino wins his 4th, and Rob Murphy loses his 6th. The Chevrolet player of the game is Gerald Perry, who had his first 4-hit game of the season. He was 4 for 4 for the Royals, and Chevrolet will donate $1,000 on his behalf to the Special Olympics. Jeff Montgomery with save number 10 on the year. The Royals win it 2-1. We'll be right back to Fenway in just a moment.
CBS Sports presents Major League Baseball. Today's game has been brought to you by Mr. Goodwrench Parts, the goods under your hood at General Motors dealers. Head and Shoulders, because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And by the companies of the Prudential. Come to the Prudential and build your future on the rock.
We thank you for joining us, everyone. For Andrea Joyce and Jim Cott, I'm Greg Gumbel saying goodbye from Fenway, where the final score is the Kansas City Royals 2 and the Boston Red Sox 1. You've been watching Major League Baseball on CBS Sports, home of baseball's jeweled events.